Welcome to Binge Theory. This is a special episode where we're going to be discussing Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I am Julian, and with me today I have Logan.
Hello.
And Logan, we saw this together a few days ago.
We did.
We had time for it to marinate, formulate opinions, come up with insights and questions, and I know you took copious notes. Everything's rattling around in my head. So I'm going to go with the questions and thoughts that you have, and we can just pontificate off of that.
Great. So I guess starting with just what did I think of it?
Yes. Yeah.
I was satisfied.
And overall,
yeah. I think the biggest thing that stands out for me, all the plot points aside that we'll go into, is that I think this shows a lot of growth in J.J. Abrams as a director. Watching, having seen The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi kind of in line with it, they're fresh in my mind as well. And having seen The Force Awakens so recently, that was it didn't seem like he knew exactly how he wanted to go about doing that and ended up remaking Episode 4.
That's an excellent point. And to your point, you saw the episodes 7 and 8.
Yep.
Very recently, so that is a good way to go in because it's fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
And I definitely hear you in regards to Abrams, I guess, finding his stride.
Yeah.
After the first one, he basically was doing what some would call a redo or an echo of Episode 4. A lot of the same beats, a lot of the same themes, and after the Episode 8. He had to adjust, but he still came back with a stronger skill set and just an overall familiarity with the universe and how he was going to implement his directing. I'm with you on that. I have some interesting thoughts on it, but I want to go do it in a deep dive on this. So, what were some of the other things you noticed or thoughts?
So one of the things that I think was different for him, and even just the way this movie started, J.J. Abrams has a thing, if you will, for keeping that, guessing and secrecy and this whole big thing that's out there. But he, started by just plopping Palpatine down first thing. Practically the first words you hear are Palpatine's words when you get there and see him.
Exactly.
So the fact that he started by just, going right into that and having that hit its stride felt refreshing for him in that he wasn't drawing out a smoke monster for however many seasons.
Interesting point. Yeah, right in the opening crawl, the dead speak. And apparently Palpatine now has a podcast, and he's sending out messages.
Yeah.
And I was a little hazy on the whole, what was he just sending out a warning? What was he sending out a message for? There was some sort
of actually a video game tie-in where in Fortnite, I think it was, I'm not a gamer, so
I did see that on the
correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
But that the actual broadcast in his voice that the actor even did was broadcast in Fortnite as some sort of promo thing, so that if you wanted to hear that message that he sent out that they're referencing in the crawl, it was in the game.
Who owns the game?
No idea.
Because if that is a Disney thing, or Disney was like a parent company, that would have been... obviously synergy, but I'd be a little disappointed. And
I would have enjoyed it more if it were, and it's time, obviously, it makes no sense, but if there were a way to have heard it in that 7th episode of The Mandalorian, another kind of reason and callback as opposed to just, getting the people watching that familiar with Force healing being an actual thing.
And at that, I want to just touch base on that, the Force healing.
Yep.
I was not familiar with that, obviously, until Mandalorian, and we've both watched Mandalorian, and it rolls perfectly into this. Matter of fact, I think they even released the what did he call it? The season mid finale. No, it's not the mid season finale. Because the last episode, it was part of like a 2-parter.
Yes,
it feels like.
There was a cliffhanger on that last one. So I think Friday is going to be the last one for the first season.
Yes, and I did. They showed the Force healing. They kind of alluded to it. Now, this is not a Mandalorian discussion, but it gives you at least that foresight to say, or the understanding that there is such a thing as force healing. And I heard on the internet that there may have been some reference to that in maybe one of the animated series or in the graphic novels.
Definitely in the animated series, I believe. I'm pretty sure we saw it in, was it Clone Wars? I'm not sure. I know I've seen it in some of the video games and the books and stuff that I've kind of read and played in the past.
So it is
we're
canon.
talking long past. You know, back in the Jedi Knight days from, what was that, 2000 something. Long time ago.
Ooh, yeah, that's a while ago.
Yeah. So I was familiar enough with it, but had never obviously seen it on screen quite like that.
And I really, I appreciated that they wanted it to be a consistency. I mean, and I think we even mentioned this, before or thought about it. Did they have some sort of a understanding between Mandalorian and J.J. Abrams, Jon Favreau did Mandalorian, about force healing and how it was going to be utilized? And did they schedule the release of the Mandalorian just prior, like a day prior to the Rise of Skywalker, so it wouldn't spoil too much, or if it would just be fresh in the memories of people that are seeing so it's not jarring when you see what we saw in...
Exactly. How much it was actually the force hearing reveal of where they wanted to do it, or if it was just not taking away some of the box office numbers by somebody who, I can't imagine who, but would watch The Mandalorian and not go see Star Wars on opening weekend. Exactly.
No, that's an excellent point. I mean, if you're in, you're pretty much in. What other thoughts did you have? Because...
I think, again, just kind of that improvement in storytelling. You see the parts of Snoke in the tank on the walk-in. So you got a little bit more of the show, don't tell, which I think was a lot better than the way something like Solo did, where that was like tell everything.
There was a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
I want to push back a little on the Snoke, jar of Snokes, or the, Snokes in a jar. Hashtag, hashtag ever ready, or what do you call it? Fresh seal Snokes. I did remember hearing Palpatine, or what's his name, as a Sith. It's not Palpatine, it's Darth Sidious. Darth Sidious, forgive me. Where he was actually saying, I created Snoke. And he's he's monologuing. There's a lot of monologuing when Adam Driver. First of all, I got to give mad props to Adam Driver. In my mind, he was the one who carried this film
very much.
And Kylo Ren, or Adam Driver, when he's going into the underground layer of the I keep wanting to call him Palpatine. Say it again for me one time.
Darth Sidious.
Darth Sidious. And when he's monologuing, listening to Darth Sidious, Darth Sidious says, I made Snoke. And it's almost like either during or right before he walks in front of a jar full of Snokes. And I do have issues, of course, with cloning something that's already old and scarred. I don't see the purpose of that or how you would clone a scar. I don't know how. I'm not a biochemist, but I found that a little odd and unnecessary. But you're gonna, and I'll full disclaimer, I'm gonna probably have a lot of holes that I'll be speaking about in this.
There are a lot of holes to bring up.
A lot of moments.
Yeah.
And again, not just saying I wasn't entertained. I was entertained. There was a lot going on, and maybe that's the problem, is there was so much going on.
It was an incredibly active movie.
Exactly. And if you remember the original episode 4, there's a very slow burn until you even get to space, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you have Leia in the intro on the ship with Darth Vader, but it goes back to Luke, moisture farming, whining about, going to... what is that? Tashi for power converters, and so it's small. It's small scale, and it just we can get into the decisions that were made by Abrams, and I definitely feel that it was a part apology, if you will, for The Last Jedi, where he was trying to undo some of the things he thought that were not.
Oh, he undid a number of significant things.
Yes, and I think
that's why it felt like almost 2 movies shoved into one. That's why it was so frantic and so, it hung on by a thread as far as the cohesion from scene to scene to scene to scene. It never gave you a chance to breathe, but it was trying to make up for so much. And I think that's probably the biggest, in retrospect, obviously, disservice that Disney ended up doing with this, was going with a different director in the middle. Not saying that I didn't like aspects of the Last Jedi. There were plenty that I did not like. But just that difference in director and style and kind of cohesive vision, I think with the way storytelling tends to be consumed now in very serialized, cohesive stories over seasons.
Like long spanning epic.
Exactly.
Type, yes.
Even if it wasn't as good as it could have been, I think having JJ or having a single director through all 3 would have been a better service to the material itself.
It gives you a continuity.
Yes.
And it's something that just is obvious when you see these, because it is jerking from one place to another. I would, and again, I wasn't sitting in on the meetings with Disney. But
if only.
Yeah, if I would have had some thoughts. I have some notes. But I would assume that they were following or trying to follow of course, the holy grail of epic universe building, Marvel Comics. And where Marvel has been able to pull off having different directors for different properties, I think the reason that works is because they're different stories.
Right.
They were trying to tell the same story with different directors. And I think that really threw everything off. Not to go too far in the Marvel universe, but Marvel, you had Taika Waititi doing Thor, which is a totally different flavor. And then you had the Russo brothers doing, obviously, the Avengers proper. But they were different directors with different styles. But when they came together, it was a uniform voice.
But at the same time, too, Disney knew enough to give the Russo brothers both Infinity War and Endgame. They didn't swap directors between those 2.
Very true.
Even the first 2 Avengers, as loosely connected, if you could even say that connected they were still Joss Whedon.
Exactly. No, excellent point. And I am curious, because maybe it's the timing, because Avengers was already, a beast. You weren't going to mess with Avengers. And I think Star Wars is so, tainted from the prequels. Maybe they just didn't have a good sense of what they were going to do, and they were just still experimenting with it. Because Marvel had just a track record of successes one after the other, so they weren't going to have. And again, I imagine this is what's going on. The board meeting is saying, okay, how can we fix this? With Marvel, I'm assuming they were kind of hands off and saying, whatever you want, just we'll sign the checks. But Star Wars, they were like, ooh, the internet hates us. What are we going to do to fix it? J.J. Abrams, they're dusting off an old football coach and saying, "Hey, run those plays that you run." And he did, and it was acceptable. The episode 6 was episode 7. Episode 7, and the names are always killing me. That was
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Thank you. I always get that confused with A New Hope. The Force Awakens was good. But it was not groundbreaking.
No, it took no risk at all.
Thank you. And I think that's what they wanted. And then they said, okay, now we got it. We're good. We're airborne. And then they put in, what's his name? Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson. And for all the criticisms of The Last Jedi, I will say at least he took risks. And he had a totally different thought of where this should go. And that's daring. I think that he was in the wrong place to be,
in the wrong place on the wrong movie.
Exactly.
And I would argue the same reason why they canned the guys from Lego Movie who were doing Solo and brought in.
Yes.
I'm going to say Zemeckis, but it's not Zemeckis. What's his name?
You're talking about Opie.
For
Han Solo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, thank you.
Yes. Opie,
they brought him in to kind of just, smooth it over. Disney knew what they had when they bought Star Wars. They knew they wanted it. And I think they were probably also a little scared, having seen how much Lucas was in his own head and didn't have a balance of pandering to fan service, but also being kind of aware of current cultural zeitgeist at the time or what was kind of going on that way. So they didn't have the model that Marvel had built over time. And even Marvel had a whole string of very, very subpar things before that to learn to get there.
Exactly. And those were different directors.
Yes.
I mean, think of
They were all different directors too, sure.
Thor had a great director, the first one. Or was it the second one? Which one had the Shakespearean director? I forget his name. He did like a lot of amazing work, but he's more of an actor. He was also the cowboy in Westworld. Not Westworld, Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
Kenneth Branagh?
Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
He directed, now was that Thor? Or, I mean, not Thor. Was that Thor or Thor Dark World? Because those were two completely different types. And then by the time you get to... Thor Ragnarok,
right?
And Taika just realized, hey, this is a comic book. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to recreate Shakespeare with superpowers. So he took it and owned it, and now I'm sure that he is master domain of all things Thor. And with the next one that's coming out, I think he's already slotted to direct it as well. But that being said,
well, where they needed to take the risk was not Episode 8. There's too much history. There's too much stuff going on. You don't take it with the, trilogy that you're trying to end the trilogy of all trilogies with. You do it with, and I think this is why it worked as well as it did, Rogue One. You do it with an unconnected but still in-universe property.
Exactly.
Some of the risks they're taking with Mandalorian and things they're doing there and the way they're kind of telling the story. To put Rian Johnson in charge of I don't know, go back to a Knights of the Old Republic movie or series of movies or somewhere else in the universe or after. If they would have had JJ or somebody do those three to kind of just establish, yes, we've got this, we'll figure it out, we'll find the balance between fan service and pushing the boundaries and making an actual piece of art, if you will. And then go into the risks when you're not as emotionally attached to a character that how Luke is going to be because you've known Luke for 40 years.
Exactly. They don't have to, and again, it's a universe. They could go anywhere, create any character and do anything. It could be a completely separate film and you just put the Star Wars stamp on it and you're good to go.
Yep.
But because they were just so, I guess, and I'm going to say it, they were so greedy. They wanted to get that Star Wars, the audience that has been following it for 40 years. They wanted them to buy tickets and their kids to buy tickets. In some cases, their grandkids to buy tickets. They basically said, okay, we're going to go all in on this trilogy when they didn't have to.
They went right to the Marvel model now
without
the building and learning phase.
And I as long as well as a lot of other people have been saying that since the whole DC fiasco and how they were trying to jump right into the Avengers mode. You need to walk before you can run. And they said, well, let's do a movie year after year after year, which made zero sense. It's almost like you're just wanting to put a assembly line together and put all the pieces. And I use this analogy in the past where it's like they had a toy box full of Star Wars figures, and they literally just crunched it up, put it on an assembly line, and whatever it spat out, that was your movie.
Yeah.
And I that's some of my big criticisms about this one. The characters are not fully fleshed out. You have a couple with a little bit of history, but you have very limited arcs. The only ones that really have any interesting arcs, in my opinion, are Kylo and Rey to an extent. Finn, I mean, and they don't get me wrong, they did things and they matured.
Finn didn't for me until this movie, and now I wish I saw more and knew more, and his arc was better defined.
And that could also be the issue, is they have too many characters. Again, the original Star Wars, 3 characters, essentially Han, Luke, and Leia. Now you have Finn, you have Poe, you have Rey, you have Kylo. Kylo shouldn't even be a character. He should be an overwhelming presence, just evil incarnate. Not, I wonder if he's going to change. Or you shouldn't be thinking that from day one. And quite frankly, Rey saying, I sense a conflict within you, was a giveaway. So that's going to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Are they going to get... It's like Sam and Diane from Cheers. Are they going to get together at the end? And it was totally unnecessary. If you want to have that reveal, you have that. This episode could have had one of the most amazing reveals of Kylo Ren changing sides if they didn't keep hinting at it through every episode.
Right.
So that's some of my misgivings about the way they did it. But to the point of swapping out directors, I think it was detrimental.
Yep.
JJ, I think, did the best that he could with what he had. However, I also think the boardroom was in his ear saying, okay, we need to, get a certain amount of revenue. So, hey, remember all the stuff? They literally gave him a remember stick and said, keep poking the audience in the head with this stick every 5 minutes. Who's still alive? Well, let's get Billy D. Williams. Throw him in there. And he has nothing to do. Nothing to do. He's basically...
Except come off really, really awkward at the end.
That we need to talk about, too. I
feel a little better about it after reading more around it, but if you don't read anything around it and just watch it and know nothing else, that's creepy as hell.
Let me give you my impression.
Yeah.
I didn't read anything on it, so
Okay.
you fill me in based on my first perceptions. Again, there's a whole list of what the F moments, and I'm literally watching at the end of it the new introduced character who was a former stormtrooper abductee, just like Finn, sitting next to General Lando Calrissian.
Power structure much?
Yeah, exactly. And she has no ranking. She's literally just somebody who doesn't know him at all.
She brought the horses.
Yeah, the horses. Yeah, we got to talk about the horses. What the obvious benefit of having horses that you're dropping on a spaceship.
I mean, they're not wrong. You cannot electrically jam a horse.
Yeah, but you don't need anything jammed.
Well, look, I am not arguing that point one bit.
I have too many points. I got to get back to that. But to the General Rapey guy that we had, and again, I want to be fair. He just came off as a little creepy.
Yeah.
And again, maybe Rapey's a little strong. He definitely, he's a lascivious and a little too familiar. He is looking at her, and again, for a certain generation, they'll know what I'm talking about. He came off like a Colt 45 commercial. And she's basically, first of all, the whole discussion was contrived. This, for lack of a better term, nobody to him says, so where are you from? You don't ask people that.
No, that's not a conversation starter with a general you happen to be sitting next to.
Exactly. Hey, war hero, where are you from?
Yeah.
Tell me your life story. No. Okay, so let's skip over that ridiculous moment. And then he looks at her and and he says, where are you from? And she goes, I don't know. You know darn well where you're from. You're from the Empire. You were kidnapped from a certain planet. You know where you're from. You just don't have any family. Stop with all the melodrama. And then his response, in a super creepy way, at least in my impression.
No, I agree. I agree.
Is hey, I'm going to do my Lando voice. Yeah, I don't do many impressions because they come off poorly. But hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from, I don't know. Well, let's go find out. And it just came off as a 70-some-year-old man, saying he's going to go on an adventure. And again, maybe it was written down on paper like, let's find out. This is a Easter egg for a new adventure that will never happen. But because Billy D. Williams is stuck in 70s mode where everything is a come on, it comes off as creepy.
It totally does.
I don't think he's ever delivered a line where he didn't sound creepy. Think of Cloud City. Everything is some nuance. And
hey, give Leia my love.
Exactly. No, that was
like, oh, is there another Skywalker running around somewhere? That's
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. And again,
there's the next trilogy.
You know what? I think that would have been a very woke thing to do, and that would have been a very interesting character.
Yeah.
A Jason Momoa colored Jedi. Why not?
Oh, Jason Momoa as a Jedi.
Jason Jedi. But to the point is, I think Billy D. Williams has not been in front of a camera for 20-some years.
He's done some small things. He did a brief appearance on White Collar a number of years ago.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Now, how was he in that? Was he creepy in that?
He seemed...
Like, what role did he play? Was he...
Who did he play? I think he played and it's been a long time since I've seen White Collar, but I think he played a love interest of the woman who the main character was kind of renting his house from. an older African American woman. So he kind of played that relationship with her. I think. Oh, that's right. He was her husband's business partner.
Everything is just so sexual,
or something like that. I think. I don't know.
He's oversexed.
Yes,
I'm just gonna say he's oversexed, and everything.
Although he definitely looked and moved a lot better in this than he did then. And Disney sent him to training, I think.
Really?
Yes. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing something about that where he actually got training and I don't know if it's some sort of a gymnastic or a strength training or something to be able to move and appear on screen more, fluid and not as old, quite frankly.
Disney will invest, because I know they did the same for Leia, because she had to drop like 40 pounds before she got back on screen. So yeah, I guess if they want, they'll whip you into shape. And okay, so that was my.
I mean, being 82, like you
82.
may need 82.
Wow.
You may need a little help, give or take. I don't know what exactly his birthday is, but yeah.
And he looks good. I mean, for 82, he looks. I knew he had a cane, and he wasn't that mobile anymore. I saw him at like was it D23? Is that the event?
I think so.
Yeah. He was on stage, and he had a cane, and again, 80-some years old. Yeah. So God bless him. Hope he's raging for another 10 years. Plus.
Yeah, definitely.
But okay, so that being my first impression.
Oh, and that was my first impression too. It was it was actually so bad, and I was so just skeeved out by it. I had to look into it to figure it out.
Yes.
And my understanding is that in likely both deleted scenes and the novelization of this movie, we will come to find out that he had a daughter,
of course,
in Cloud City, who was taken when she was young and disappeared, and there are other scenes and beats where Gianna is that daughter.
And that would have made sense.
And it would have made so much sense to be able to see that and kind of get to know and have this other next generation connection.
Yes.
And then that at the end would have been like father-daughter reunion as opposed to odd 70s movie you could never show now.
So if they were going to drop hints that, hey, this could be somebody, and then you close with, let's find out, that makes more sense.
All she would have to do was tell Finn, when they were talking about their stormtrooper taking days, that, I was taken from Cloud City.
Exactly. And he...
My father was a wealthy businessman, and that's all I know about him, kind of a thing. Like, drop a few hints, but apparently a lot of those hints or anything that would have tied into that are on the cutting room floor or in the novelization somewhere, and all they kept was that.
I will play script doctor. All they had to have her, when she was talking to Finn, said, I was, abducted during the fall of Cloud City.
There you go.
Because Cloud City was taken over by the Empire at some point.
I believe so.
Yeah. I was kidnapped from Cloud City. I don't know who my father is. Everybody would have gone aghast.
Yep.
But you wouldn't have had to do anything because you already planted the seed, and then everything after that is just referencing that.
You wouldn't even have added a second or two to the entire script.
Exactly.
And instead, you're left with.
I don't know who my parents were. They abducted me from Cloud City. Next page.
Yep.
That's all it is now. And then, but instead of all this stuff, and again, I think it's because they were trying to cram so much in. Who were the writers on this? Because JJ,
there were a number of writers.
That makes more sense because if they have like half a dozen writers.
Well, you also have the Writers Guild rules for who has to get credited as a writer.
True.
So trying to figure out and distill from just a list of people, who wrote what part, if anybody did. I want to say some of the. Who is it? Colin Trevorrow, who was supposed to be the director for this one, but then ultimately wasn't. I think he has a writing credit, but I also thought they threw out everything that he used and they rewrote it. Because he had an accepted draft, even if they used nothing from it,
technically he's a writer.
Writers Guild has him on it.
Understood. And again, I don't want to get stuck in these what the F holes because I got so many more. But okay, so that being said, that makes perfect sense. So Lando, a little less creepy if you get the director's cut.
Director's cut or read the novelization. And I think the novelization could have some other kind of interesting tidbits to fill in. I feel like that's kind of a lost promotional vehicle or lost thing where you can add so much in a novel that you can't obviously afford or even, pay for in other ways that it would be nice to see that kind of emphasized more.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And so what do we have next? Because there's so many things. This is chock full of.
This really is
of spectacle and I would dare say disappointment.
Well, you want to talk about disappointment?
Yes.
Leia.
Which one? The horrible CG Leia during the training, or the...
Actually, I thought, as bad as that was, I can accept that one more than the reused footage. Carrie Fisher has a spunk, a chip, an edge,
Absolutely.
something about her where you just, you knew there were 10 other things she was thinking behind what she was saying, and that all played into her performance. I think you saw that a lot in The Last Jedi, regardless of how the overall movie was taken. The nuance, the looks, the way she went and just, nonchalantly stunned Poe. Just the mannerisms in her action interacting with the other characters on the screen was huge. This Leia lacked a soul.
And, well, rightly so, because I saw online a lot of the footage, that was literally cut and pasted from other scenes. Yeah. So you're never going to have that connection because she was talking...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the context of her acting is completely off.
Yep.
Because they're literally taking scenes where she's talking to a military advisor and they just splice in Rey.
Yeah.
And so you're not... The conversation doesn't make sense. It's literally you're trying to splice together a conversation that never happened.
Yep.
And so I can't...
And it just gets so awkward. Tell me something positive. Could that be any more of a cringeworthy scene where you're looking at this trying to, force an extra second or two of dialogue of Carrie Fisher for a really pointless...
And they try to write it off as a joke, everything's going very well. And...
Look, the only comedic aspect that worked well on this was Anthony Daniels. C-3PO was as hilarious as he was in some of the original trilogy. He was fantastic.
Now, let's talk about C-3PO, since, because everything is a landmine. I'm sorry.
No.
C-3PO, the whole, I'm taking one last look at my friends, none of those people were his friends. He knew them barely. If it was Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie, those are his friends.
Yeah.
He barely knows Poe. Poe's droid is BB-8, not C-3PO. And he has almost no affiliation with those people at all. He went on his first mission with them, and he's going to say, these are my friends. Yeah. I understand it's supposed to be a heart moment, but to me, it makes no sense.
And worse than that, it's cheapened when R2 gives him back his memory anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Let's start. Let me throw that out there. Since you just brought up the it doesn't matter, this entire movie is riddled with nothing matters. Nobody ever dies. Nothing that you do has any real impact.
Nope.
So if I can start off, the first it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Is Chewie getting blown up?
Yes.
And he doesn't get blown up because you see in the trailer he's in the Millennium Falcon with...
But they didn't try and play that one, which I at least semi-respected, because they cut to him on the destroyer very shortly thereafter, so you knew he was alive.
But
they didn't play that out as a false front. Yes, okay, Rey thought it, and when I watched it again, there were 2 transport ships in the background.
Yes.
So, okay, fine. I can see how if you weren't, paying attention the first time around or whatever, you might actually believe that.
Sure.
But they didn't run that one out. No, I don't like it, but they didn't run it out.
But again, it's so many. I think again because everything happens so fast, and it's literally like the analogy of a toy box full of Star Wars figures. Yeah. They just keep throwing them in your face. Yep. You don't have enough time to be attached to any of these characters, and so Chewbacca, the cornerstone of the entire Star Wars, past 3 trilogies, randomly dies, and then you're right, 5 minutes later he's fine. So why did we have to go through that? Why would that even matter? Why? That was a quick nothing burger.
Yeah. And
then that was the first one. Okay, the other it doesn't matter is obviously when C-3PO gets his memory erased, and then 5-10 minutes later he gets it back. So there's no consequence.
No.
It does not matter. I think, and I heard this before, that Anthony Daniels had said to George Lucas repeatedly that he wanted C-3PO to have a hero moment. Now, if that is the case, obviously...
But is a hero moment really a self-sacrifice moment? Does it always have to be?
It doesn't have to be. No. He could have, pulled up a gun and shot somebody who was endangering somebody else. That would have been fine, but I think he was trying to get a hero moment, and George Lucas was like, get away from me. Yeah. The droids are comic relief. They're not heroes.
Yeah.
And in this one, again, because I think a lot of this movie is based on Reddit comments or tweets, because everything is a wink nod to the internet, which is no way to write a movie.
No.
And I think you see that going through. Okay, so those were the two that I saw first, and then of course there's bizarre Romeo and Juliet ending where Rey dies. But she doesn't really die because it doesn't matter. And Han Solo's gone forever, but he shows up as a memory. And I don't even talk about how you have a conversation with a memory. I can understand a flashback, maybe to when he was a child, and something poignant that his father said to him, that Han said to Ben, I guess Kylo Ren, Ben, what was it? What would it? Ben Solo.
Solo,
yeah. That would have been inspirational. Like he has a flashback to when he's a child. And Han Solo, maybe a de-aged Harrison Ford, says something to him that just finally rings true, and he does a turn. But you can't get acceptance, and you can't apologize and have a meaningful conversation with a memory. That's, if it was a Force ghost, that might have been something.
Well, they made great pains to make sure that wasn't a Force ghost because Han is not Force sensitive.
Exactly.
So he could not be a Force ghost.
But how do you get approval and the discussion, that final discussion you want with your father, from a memory?
See, that doesn't bug me as much because I took that as, now that he's essentially, Rey killed Kylo and resurrected Ben Solo, which is basically the way they're trying to, I read that scene, is that he now sees that conversation he had with his father on Planet Killer, Starkiller Base, in a different way. And he's internalizing a different understanding of the conversation because there's a lot of similarities between that conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I have the strength. Of course you do. Yes. The hand on the side of the face. Like, all of that stuff is not viewed from Kylo Ren's perspective. It's now viewed from Ben Solo's perspective.
Yes.
And the impact of that is like, oh, I never realized that's what my father meant when he was saying that. It's still hairy, it's still a little hazy. I'm not trying to fully redeem it in any way, but I can accept that one more than the others. And
redemption, that was the word I was looking for. How you can get redemption from a memory of something that never happened. But again, I get it, and I do like that the view that they're two different people, so they're having two different recollections.
Yeah, that was the way I read that. Leia sacrificed herself to distract Kylo. Look, she had to die somehow. This was a given.
Since you can't see it, I'm rolling my eyes because that's another thing that I want to talk. And again, I don't want to poo-poo on everything.
Yeah,
because this has merit and succeeds in a lot of places. It's like they littered this wonderful steak with horrible seasoning. And every time you bite into one, you're like, oh, that spoils the entire taste of this delicious steak I'm trying to enjoy. But I'm sorry, please.
No. Just that Leia sacrificed herself because she had to die somehow to distract Kylo Ren so Rey could kill Kylo Ren. And then she brought back, again, all philosophically or metaphorically or whatever you want to say, Ben Solo.
I understand that. I'm going to play script doctor.
Yep.
What would have been really the move, because again, she was not in a weakened state, so her just communicating with Ben, I don't think would have wounded her or killed her. Again, that was on the cutting floor. Maybe she had done something that stressed her out more. But what would have been a move, an option, is to have her, across the galaxy, stop his hand, not just say his name. Because now we're getting into Batman versus Superman territory, where when you hear a name, all of a sudden you freeze up. Literally stop his hand with the Force. That would have been at least something that would have stressed her out, to be able to pull that function off. And he could have been trying to move his hand to strike that blow, and she stopped it, and then it drops out of his hand, and then Rey gets him.
Yep.
That would have been an interesting thing, because it's not about him having an epiphany with his mother, because he already had a connection with her back when she got blown up and turned into Leia Poppins and was flying.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I think it was redundant, but that would have been a heck of a thing, is if Leia reached out across the galaxy, stopped her son's hand from striking down Rey, and in that moment Rey got the upper hand and stabbed him. That I would have enjoyed more than the all of a sudden Ben has feelings, and it just came off a little odd and clunky. But again, I think that's because 5 people probably wrote that scene on and off. But again, that's me playing script doctor. They don't pay me for that. I do that for fun. And what else do we have?
What else do we have? I liked the John Williams cameo. That was kind of fun.
I didn't notice that until I got home and the internet told me. So yes, John Williams with a prosthetic headpiece,
or eyepiece or something. Yeah,
a monocle.
Yeah, nice to kind of to see him just kind of in there. And the one I didn't realize, I actually mistook and I'm blanking on his name, the actor who played Wedge Antilles at the end.
Yes.
I almost thought that was Anthony Daniels outside of C-3PO for a second, but no, it was
Wedge Antilles said, good flying, Lando.
Yep.
I mean, it was so forced.
Just popped up. It was, but it's like it's the kind of stuff you want to see.
I'm gonna put my cynical card away for now. That was they put him in there. They did that,
and that was the other one too. When Poe talks to Junior. I just did air quotes.
Junior, which one?
So that was when the opening scene when they were on there, and he was talking to Junior, which was essentially Akbar's son.
Yes, General Akbar.
Yep, General Akbar's son.
Yes,
that was kind of a nice, fun little nod there. Again, I think that might lead into all the places where, for whatever reason, whether it was malicious or just story serving or self serving or otherwise, where there was some heavy retconning of Episode 8.
Well, there was a lot of smack in the face to Episode 8.
Whether it was bringing back Akbar by having his son come back, or having his son there. A shoulder tap is all Finn and Rose's interaction get after everything that happened.
I would definitely...
and the rest of that.
You talk about being in the friend zone. I mean, that is the most... It's almost like... And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the friend zone and this whole bizarre... romantic, triad or whatever they have going on. Because, first of all, yes, and if you look at that video where Rose kisses Finn, that's not really, a joint kiss. That's more 80-20. Rose was kind of forcing that on him. After she botched the entire mission with her romantic strategy. I don't know what that was all about. I'm sure that really, made sense, in the debriefing. Hey, what went wrong with the mission? Oh, well, she kissed me.
Yeah.
And then,
she crashed my ship and she kissed me.
Exactly. Because she said, we're going to win with love, not with weapons. And that's why she's in the military. And again, wasn't she all about the military when Finn was trying to escape and she was all throwing regulations in his face?
Tased him and brought him up to the brig.
Quite the militant one when it suits her needs, but all of a sudden... Okay, so there's that. There's that bizarre kiss and then, yes, they literally wrote her out. She had no business being in there.
No.
And it's so unfortunate because the actress took so much crap on the internet. And they didn't like her. And not saying that they had to boost her role to, rub it in the face of the internet.
Yeah.
But this is the opposite. They gave her so little respect in that role. I mean, she was a feature player in the last one.
Yeah.
And to basically say, you just stay here, shoulder pat, friend zone. And off
we'll show you on screen a few times, and then that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, the whole teasing with, Rey, this is, Finn saying to Rey in bizarre situations, Rey, I have something to tell you.
Yep.
Let's go. And this I got to touch on because this also falls into the what the F moment.
Yeah.
When they land on that planet in the middle of Burning Man or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And they ran... Okay, first of all, and there's some people on the internet have brought this up, so that's why I'm a little tainted here and a little bitter.
Okay.
In The Mandalorian, he parks his ship, comes back 2 hours later, Jawas have stripped that thing clean.
Yep.
Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly where you are in this universe. People will rob you blind if you just park your car in the middle of the desert. So they're tracking, again... We'll come back to the MacGuffin to get a MacGuffin story.
Those MacGuffins.
It's ridiculous. And even the functionality of these MacGuffins are all crazy. There's no logic to them. But okay, so they're going for the MacGuffin based on the Jedi Hunter.
Yeah.
And they again show up, and the Jedi Hunter's car is parked on a mesa in the middle of the desert, totally untouched, able to run
for 17 years.
Yes, exactly. Just
Since
left
Rey
alone.
was a kid dropped off on Jakku?
Exactly.
Give me a break.
And first of all, because that's the only memory she ever has, you would have thought she would have recognized that right out. But no, she was like, I think I remember that spaceship.
Yeah.
Then she's been having nightmares about that her whole life. You're darn right you're going to remember it, instead of just, that looks familiar. All she's been thinking about for her entire childhood up to her early adulthood was getting on or waiting for that ship to show up. And she doesn't recognize it
You're
when she
going to
sees
force freak out the second you see
Exactly.
that. Absolutely.
So there's that.
Yes.
And when they see this totally untouched ship, they as they're falling into this sand, what do you call it? A quicksand
thing. Yeah.
Quicksand thing. Coincidentally,
Yep.
luckily, totally randomly, they fall into a pit where there's a knife that shows the destination of the Google Maps app that they have to get, and it makes no sense because they fall down in the pit. Fine, they fall down in a pit, and it's the same pit that ate him. The Jedi
sure,
Honor.
fine.
Exactly.
At that point, it's just like,
yes,
eye roll and let's go.
Exactly. So now they're there, and it seems like all these scenes are basically, how do we get him here?
Yep.
We'll have him do this. There's nothing organic. Everything is like shoved in. How do we get her to say this? We'll have somebody say this. Everything is a trigger to make something happen, as opposed to just telling a story.
There are a great many forced moments between there. Absolutely.
No pun intended. And so they fall down into this pit where there's this big snake.
Yep.
And yeah, of course they're going to hesitate and not shoot a huge snake that's about to bite somebody, because Rey feels something. This snake is wounded. Yeah, you've killed thousands of people. This means something now. So,
well, you had to use force healing.
Yes, you have to show it.
Yeah.
So people don't forget. Because you're force feeding him so much.
They're saving the world by preserving life.
And again, she apparently gave some of her life to that snake. Yeah, because her
the force replenishes itself.
Does it?
It must.
I don't know, because she said I gave him some of my life, and I was like, well, why would you even say it like that?
It's an awkward. Again,
I mean, that's like saying when I lift something heavy, I've just given some of my life to this. No, come on.
Yeah, I'm not killing myself every time I force levitate.
Exactly. And let's talk about the levitation too.
Oh.
Yeah, again, the mechanics of how she. Okay, but let me back up to the magic pit.
Magic pit first,
where they find the magic knife. And again, the way they find the knife is so ridiculous, because BB-8's saying, "Hey, look at that knife over there." Why? There's a pile of scrap metal. Why is BB-8 pointing at a knife? Is there something special about the knife? It's a knife. You're
never underestimate a droid.
I'm telling you. And again, so that scene,
they literally call back to that. It's
they do. And again, that was from, remember what Leia said in episode 7 that we shoehorned in episode 9?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was ridiculous. It made no sense. It was, again, a journey of lunacy, but they got the knife.
Let's not even get started on the knife.
Oh, you mean the protractor? Exactly.
Well, no. Look, this knife
yes.
led to the Sith Wayfinder that was on the Death Star.
Which, again, makes no sense.
Look, I'm so far even... Who could possibly think that the best course of action is to forge a knife, inscript it with words,
yes,
and cut it out based on the ruins of a ship in an ocean?
Yes. Continue.
25 years ago?
Oh, and
as opposed to just go in there and get in the damn thing?
And let's not forget, you have to be standing in the exact perfect spot on that planet.
That is okay.
How is that okay?
It's okay because, and I actually took specific note of this, when they are on Kijimi, and they're breaking C-3PO's head open, as Poe says it.
Oh, does he give him a GPS?
Well, if you actually listen to all of the words that he's saying once his eyes turn red and he translates everything, it's basically, from the southern shore only, this blade tells.
Okay.
So they knew exactly where to go on the southern shore, and there wasn't much of a southern shore there.
Right. Okay, I'll reel that back in then.
What's even ridiculous, though, and this is the one thing that bugs me the hell about Poe in this movie, is they dumbed him down.
He was more of a...
He was there. He listened to them say it, and he is so slow on the uptake. He's standing there, and he's like, it's going to take years to find this. How do we find it? Dude, you were just there listening to C-3PO say, stand on the southern shore and use it.
Slowpo.
Yeah, Slowpo. Ooh.
And
ooh, hashtag Slowpo.
Exactly.
Oh.
Now to that point, and again, the logic of and again, this is like right out of the Goonies.
Oh.
You know, they have a decoder knife that you get to look through and see where in the Death Star this MacGuffin is, when you could have just said, hey, it's in Palpatine's chambers. Go in his room. It's in his bedroom.
Right.
It's in his bedroom. That's all you had to say. You know, it's not a scavenger hunt. And again,
it does not need to be that.
And again, the entire Death Star was obliterated. I'm not even going to go the fact that just a huge chunk intact was on this planet.
Apparently, water doesn't damage anything in the Star Wars universe.
No, there's no rust.
There's no rust. There's no corrosion. There's no destruction. It perfectly preserves the Death Star. It perfectly preserves a functional X-Wing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It perfectly preserves everything. Water in Star Wars universe is amazing.
Apparently, they just built stuff to last. But it does. Yeah, you're right. The whole thing about Luke Skywalker being under the water for decades in the sea.
Oh, I don't even know how many years that must have been. What? In movie 2030?
Probably. And again,
and the Death Star with that kind of oceanic currents and waves and stuff damaging, like hitting against it, give me a break.
And there's no scavengers to take all that scrap metal.
Nope.
It's a relic now. Mm-hmm. So, and also, let's say, for example, nothing matters again.
Sure.
Because you have the X-Wing that Luke submerged because he never wants to get off the island, when all you had to do was raise it and get in it and fly away. So that was not a sacrifice. At least Rey burned her TIE fighter because she didn't want to get off the island.
Yeah.
That's an actual, development. Luke just parked it in the water. And then when he wanted it, he just pulled it out.
He was just too busy as a Force ghost sitting on a rock.
And again, another slap in the face to Rian Johnson. Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Where Rey throws the lightsaber in the fire because
a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. Smack.
Exactly.
Oh.
And
yes.
Again, it was necessary, I guess, because you're supposed to have respect for it. And I've heard people say that was uncalled for, but I think that if you're ever going to use a lightsaber again, you shouldn't treat it with such disrespect.
Yeah.
And I understand he was trying to show...
They needed to work when he needed to work.
Exactly. And I understand, I think, what Rian Johnson was trying to do. He was trying to say that the Luke of this era was so disenfranchised, he had no reference for it.
Totally get it.
But throwing it made no sense because that was just such a childish thing for a wise hermit to do.
It was for a reaction.
Exactly.
And he got the reaction, and it cost him a lot.
Exactly. He was trying to make a statement, and people didn't like the statement.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so going back to the whole... It was funny watching it again as far as the inconsistency with Rey's Force abilities.
Oh, you mean...
So it starts with her, levitating, at least 10 feet, and then, doing the course and jumping.
She's like Dr. Manhattan. She's
just
levitating.
As she goes, and then she's going to do a, 30, 40-foot jump from the ship to the Falcon.
She's in God mode.
Escaping.
She
and then, when she's fighting on the... in the water on the Death Star.
Yes,
that's 100 foot, 200 foot, and then
you mean the Matrix jumping there?
The Matrix jumping there after her, strenuously trying to climb up like she's back on Jakku.
Yes.
And how many years ago?
Yeah, probably 5. Yeah, it's not that long. Again, she grew up climbing on the inside of Imperial destroyers, scrap metal, that was her life.
And now she can do that with Force abilities?
Yes.
And it's causing her difficulty?
Yes. And again...
Consistency.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and first of all, she's just levitating all over the place. Levitate to the Death Star. I mean,
yes.
if we're... Again, the powers were always inconsistent.
Yes.
And also, I didn't understand why she was getting so weak when she was fighting Kylo Ren. Because when he starts beating her down, you see an expression on her face like, I got nothing left.
She did look exhausted, although actually it was kind of funny watching it again in that throne room, you will. She was freezing as an actress.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see her shuddering and teeth clenched, trying to hold it together. She is freezing her butt off.
Because they probably shot that on location wherever.
They at least shot it wet. There's no question there. Adam Driver does a much better job handling himself in that. But I mean, cold, you're cold. No.
Adam Driver has sleeves.
There. Yes,
that's probably it. I mean, they have her in the same outfit no matter where she goes.
Yes,
I mean,
any temperature. From a sand planet, in the desert to...
it's all-weather apparel.
Yeah,
and
it's
she could
not.
Be... Yeah.
But no, she was freezing.
She was. And since we're going to talk about that moment when she's in the Death Star, getting the,
Wayfinder.
That is ridiculous. First of all, I don't understand how a legacy artifact you can plug into a TIE fighter and it tells you where to go.
Just stick the magnets on it.
Yeah. Exactly. There's no portion. There's no logic to that because, I understand you got to kind of balance magic and science.
Especially for Star Wars. And here's where I'm happy to give it to it. Mm-hmm. Star Wars is not Star Trek.
True.
Star Trek,
it's
you would have literally a 2-minute scene about the technobabble of how the Wayfinder works and how you need to hook it into your systems and which isolinear chips you need to go ahead and maneuver and fix.
Right.
Star Wars doesn't do that, and I respect that it doesn't do that, and I don't need it to do that.
That's true. And again,
as far as I'm concerned, they could, put it on the panel of the X-Wing or the TIE Fighter or whatever, make a clink sound, and I'm convinced it's hooked in.
Exactly, just like you would your mobile phone. Yeah. Just put it right on your dashboard, and it starts pointing.
That's fine.
And you're right. Of all the things, I'll let
There's
that
plenty others.
Yeah,
yes.
There's no science logic to it, but fine. It's space magic, goody. But now let's talk about when she's in there and she's fighting her evil self.
Empress Palpatine.
Exactly. And I get it. Yeah. Again, everything is a callback to something else.
Yep.
So it's like they said, hey, all the iconic scenes from all the movies, we need to recreate them, and then we need to force them into these situations from nonsense. So she goes into this,
artifact room, throne room, whatever.
Exactly. And then she sees her other self, which again is episode, that's episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, where Luke goes into his training cave. But she already had that moment when she was on that island with Luke, and she, didn't necessarily fight herself, but there was a lot of duality going on in that mirror room when she went right to the dark side. So,
this was another area, I think, where JJ had to retcon that in order to make up for where Rian Johnson didn't go with it.
It's almost like, and again, it's unfortunate that I have to say this, but it's almost like the Last Jedi, for all that it did bring to the table, they were trying to just ignore that it ever happened, and they were just trying to reshoot two films in one, which is why it was so convoluted and so messy and so hurried through everything, because they wanted to hit all these beats that apparently Rian Johnson didn't think were valuable, and they were saying, well, we need to do all these things, and we need to keep Twitter happy, and we need to sell toys, and we need to tap that nostalgia button 50 times. So all these things in this movie made it seem bloated and chaotic. But let's go on to another point.
I was disappointed in the Knights of Ren.
That's the worst crew. That's the worst crew ever. The Knights of Ren, they're supposed to be legendary. And again, they're like his crew.
Yeah.
His crew's weak.
His crew's a bunch of, pardon the term, and I mean it almost literally, dirtbags. And when they walk through the Imperial Destroyer and they're tracking mud and dirt through it because they're just a band of ragtag people, or their ship is literally smoking in space.
Yes.
Why does they need to be...
They're burning coal.
Yeah, they're
running coal.
Running coal to make their ship fly. That was just... Of what that could have been from the flashback... I guess this was in Force Awakens, when you kind of had just a glimpse... Or maybe it was actually even the promotional material, where you had a glimpse of, Kylo and this group of, the Knights of Ren kind of thing.
That was Force Awakens. Yeah,
I think it was Force Awakens. And that was just the most...
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Last Jedi.
Was it Last Jedi?
Because when Luke is reminiscing about it...
what happened when he was telling Rey, exactly. There was no point to them at all.
I'm sorry, no, it was Force Awakens when she felt the lightsaber for the first time. She had a flashback of all the things. Okay. And they had a moment where you see the Knights of Ren in the rain.
See, that looked interesting. That looked foreboding. That looked... I almost wanted them to be more... and this is, I guess, harkening back a little to Clone Wars, more Inquisitor-like, where the kind of Imperial, Inquisitors who are, I guess, more of a group of just ridiculously highly trained Sith who go out and essentially hunt Jedi.
Absolutely.
And I would have loved that to have been his version of that, and how that would have... how that could have played on screen.
Exactly.
But no, this was... They were just a useless bunch of...
They were guys in
rough
suits.
and tumble dirtbags.
I wouldn't even say they're that rough. I didn't see them do anything amazing. And again,
they foreboded in Dark Shadows.
Yes, exactly.
Please.
These guys have no skills, so let's just dress them up in a dangerous manner, and maybe that'll intimidate people. But now, obviously, when Ben has his catharsis, and he comes back as a good guy now. I'm good now.
Right.
You remember all those people those millions upon millions of people I destroyed? I'm good now. But here's what's funny. He is still the supreme leader.
Yeah.
He didn't give up his title just because he had to change a heart. The Knights of Ren still work for him. The entire empire is still his. And remember, his entire mission from day one, literally in the opening scrolls, was to kill Snoke and wipe out any opposition to him.
Yeah.
So the only thing that changed is, first of all, he threw away his lightsaber, which again is stupid because you're supposed to treat it with more respect.
And you're going to need one.
Yeah. So he runs in there with a blaster to harken back to his dad.
Yep. I appreciate the connection there.
Yeah, and there were some beats in his fight scene that I did kind of like. He did also an homage to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. Shrugging of the shoulders when he got his lightsaber and he's like, hey,
that was kind of nice.
He goes, huh? Yeah. See this? You remember this? And also they really dialed up the humanization of him. Like when he runs in and he jumps across.
You knew that was Ben Solo and not Kylo Ren. It was really well done.
Because he runs and he throws himself onto the huge chain that served like no real purpose, and hit his ribs on it. He's like, ow! And again,
like you don't feel pain on the dark side.
So basically, he lost all of his superpowers. Well, the Force wasn't helping him much.
No.
I mean, couldn't he levitate with the Force? I mean, this guy was stopping blasters or lasers midair.
Yep.
And now he can't even make it down a chain. Exactly. Maybe the dark side has some perks.
Hey, maybe it does.
I'm just saying. Hashtag dark win. But at the end of the day, when he's running in here, and again, literally could have just said, "Hey, armada that I have at my disposal, destroy that. Kill him. Kill him." I mean, it's like
the First Order fighting the Last Order.
Exactly. He said, hey, all these tens of thousands of people that I have in my command. Hey, Knights of Ren that still work for me. Change your plan. We're just going to kill Snoke. All he had to do. But again, you wouldn't have your conflict, so you got to do that anyway.
So much of that,
I'm sorry. So that was my thing about Ben and his so-called Knights of Ren. I don't understand them being Knights of Ren because they were literally just a squad that you could easily dispatch.
Just a squad of thugs.
You know who had a better fighting style was Snoke's Red Guardians.
Yes.
Yeah, they actually were fighting. These guys...
They should... Yes, they were so much... They outclassed the Knights of Ren in every category. Even they were fantastic. I would have liked to see more with them.
And their weapons look dangerous. Kylo's
dangerous
knights,
and unique. You had never seen... I had never seen weapons quite like that.
Well, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but none of the Knights of Ren, they didn't have any sort of energy.
They had little red lights on them.
I saw that. Why do you need a red light on an axe?
I couldn't.
What is that? So you know what's on? My axe is on.
My axe is on. I'm ready to go.
Oh my god, that's horrible. Yeah, a light on an axe.
Yeah, and especially in that scene too, I feel like we're almost somewhat overlooking forced teleportation. Forced materializing things back and forth. Like, when did all of a sudden the communications ability in the Force allow, things to traverse physically the distance? Because even the last one, Luke's image didn't.
Now, I will say this. I will give them, and again, I'm going counter to my narrative here. I will allow this for this one instance.
Okay.
Because in episode 7, when they first had that kind of link, where Rey was seeing Kylo and Kylo was seeing Rey.
Right.
There was one moment where she... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think maybe it was when she was with Luke. So that would have been The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
because she was on the shore of the island and water was all around her. And Kylo, had contacted her, and a little droplet of water made it through that bonding that they had.
You're right.
And again, that was kind of a throwaway moment, but it was like weird. And
right,
so,
but this also took it to the nth level.
Oh, well,
you're dropping lightsabers and you're ripping necklaces off.
Because everything's a skill set that you never had, but you wield perfectly. And so I will give it to them that they actually established in Last Jedi that water, so material can transport through this magical space, this Jedi Skyping that they're doing, and then you do the other one where he snatched the necklace off her.
Yes.
So it has been established that the material can transport.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the ripping off Avengers when Barton went back in time and got the baseball glove.
Right.
It's not like the ripping off that at all. It's especially not when Rey said, I am Iron Man. I'm sorry, I am all the Jedi.
Yes.
It's not like the ripping off beat for beat what happened to Avengers Endgame. And so I will concede that they actually mentioned material teleportation.
They mentioned it, though. Yeah, I mean, at least as far as I can ever remember any list, official, unofficial, otherwise, of force powers, I don't remember that being listed as one before.
Well, if that was a thing,
but
it was horribly underutilized. And again, I would say this is one of the things that I would put in my tagline of my review. Yeah. This thing is riddled with unnecessary conveniences.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you don't need to go through, but conveniently it helps you move the plot along, or conveniently it's allowing you to do the win that you need to do. And it was a cool moment. I will say that it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you really had to do it, because Rey already established that she can throw the lightsaber and it will come back like a boomerang. Mm-hmm. So she could have thrown it to him or something like that.
Yep.
But it is what it is. What else do we have? And again, I'm trying not to be negative. Let me stop and just say some positive things.
Sure.
Because I feel that I'm going, into a dark place here. I did really like the effects. I think these were probably some of the best effects. Yes. I didn't get the whole green screen feel, and I know that's J.J. Abrams because he likes to do practical and all that. And I did like some of the scenes, I did really enjoy that fighting scene on the wreckage of the Death Star.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Again,
I love the running and gunning on the hallway on the Imperial Destroyer when they were breaking Chewie out.
Yes.
That run down the hallway was incredibly well scripted and so tight.
It was.
And I did kind of enjoy that they always seem to make Finn miss the first shot or two, and then he got them. Kind of, can't quite ever escape that stormtrooper training.
And let's definitely do a call. You know what that whole scene was? Mm-hmm. From the moment that ship landed in the not the Death Star, but the Destroyer.
Yeah.
And all the way running to break out Chewie.
Yep.
That entire scene was Episode 4.
Yeah.
Just sped up. Instead of the scene where two stormtroopers, are standing outside the ship, and they say, "Hey, can you help us out here?" And they go in, and then they blast them, and they stealthily go in, and they go into the detention center, and they're trying to sneak around. They're stealthy because you're literally on a military vessel with nothing but people with guns.
Yep.
And they literally just blast two people right on the deck.
Yep.
Like there's no cameras, there's no observation going on.
So little cameras in this universe, it's crazy.
All the cameras were in the detention center.
There you go.
And you could just shoot them. And again, nobody's watching them because when you shoot them, nobody shows up.
No alarms go off.
Oh, alarms?
What's an alarm? What's an alarm?
Okay, see, I'm going into a negative place again. But yes, I did see, again, the familiar beats. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't literally fall into a garbage chute. And
it's about the only thing missing.
Exactly.
But in some ways, though, JJ already did that by throwing Phasma in a garbage chute in the
They did mention that. Yes.
So he already did that one. He couldn't really do it a third time.
That is true, and it was so on the nose because Han Solo's like, "You got a garbage chute?
Yeah.
Trash compactor? Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And again, it's I get it. These are high notes from things from our childhood, but. What was this movie supposed to be? Mm-hmm. Was it supposed to be a continuation of a story or reminding the viewers of what they liked when they were young? Because I understand you can try and do both, but you don't need to recreate my memories for me to appreciate them.
Exactly.
And that's what I think they were trying to do. They was like, hey, remember when Rey climbed up that that tower in the ship? Mm-hmm. Well, she's climbing up it again.
Yep.
I get it, but and again, because it was so fast, they just kept peppering you with these redundant scenes.
Yeah.
I'd say at least 30% of this movie was callbacks. At least.
Yeah.
Just literally almost shot by shot. But even the dialogue, when Ben is having the repetitive dialogue.
Yeah.
And I get it. It was like recreating a moment with a different eye.
No, I think the callback's better than the recreation. And that's, again, the difference for me between 9 and 7.
Yes.
7 had just the almost shot-for-shot recreation. This seemed, while still very, very obvious, slightly subtler in a way that made me appreciate the way it was trying to be done.
And again, there was effort.
Yes.
I just think it was hurried.
Yes.
And it was busy, and I think it was doomed to, in my mind, not meet the expectations of the fans.
Yeah.
And I understand, you're never going to recreate somebody's childhood. Mm-hmm. Nostalgia will only take you so far. And people don't want to see things they don't understand, and they don't want you to mess up things that they do understand.
Right.
So it is. Right. It's a fruitless battle in the end because you're never going to win-win. Mm-hmm. So again, going back to the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That I would give it credit, and again, this is in retrospect.
Yeah.
When I see this, because at first I was like, it's okay, but now I'm looking at it and I see that Rian Johnson actually tried to move the ball.
Yes.
He didn't want to say, remember this, remember this, remember this. He actually did the inverse and said, none of that matters. Mm-hmm. We're going forward. But you can't do that with a property that is based on your childhood memories.
No.
You can do that in anything else, but... and again, like you were saying, like a side project, like The Mandalorian's doing.
Yep.
But literally...
Do it in the universe. You need to grow the universe.
He could have built... they could have, exactly, like you said, like Rogue One or something like that. Of course, Rogue One is back in time, so you can't really do that. You
can't do as much, but...
And that's nothing. All these ancillary stories are in the past.
Yeah.
But that's why Mandalorian has so much potential, because it's going forward. It can go anywhere. You don't know how it's going to end. Right? Or it's not in the future. It's right after Jedi, right?
It's after Jedi, yeah.
So it's before Rey and all them.
Yes.
But again, that can go in a completely different direction because the story hasn't been told.
The universe is so big it can.
And that's the thing is this entire universe, they're stuck on these Skywalkers. It's like the Kardashians. I can't get rid of them, and they keep bringing out new ones that look like the last one.
Yep.
And then that's my my tagline. Star Wars. It's like the Kardashians. But what else jumped out at you?
Well, speaking of things that I liked, and I think that battle on the Death Star was really fantastic between Rey and Kylo.
Yes.
And I loved the musical component to it as well.
I need to watch it again.
When they were going through, and it was more so than just the special effects or just anything else, there were significant orchestra hits near the end when Rey was getting tired and things were starting to look like she was not going to actually be able to win this battle. Mm. The use of the orchestra hits and the music in there really kind of upped that level significantly for me.
I need to watch it again. And you know what? I just realized why Rey's losing that battle seems so odd to me. Mm-hmm. She's on the attack and losing.
Yep.
That made no sense. What would have, and again, going back to Empire Strikes Back, when Darth Vader is beating Luke down, you feel him getting beat down because Darth is coming at him full speed, and Luke is just trying to hold on. This one, Rey is moving forward and tired.
Yes,
that makes no sense. It
was aggressive desperation almost.
Thank you. Yes. She's literally throwing all her stuff. Again, if you're losing, usually you're in a defensive mode or backing up. Yep. She's attacking him and getting tired.
Yeah.
And it made no sense. That's what jumped out at me. And I couldn't put my finger on it until just now. Yeah, whoever did the fight choreography, I've never seen that done before. Where, except for Batman Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
Where he is fighting Bane and he's throwing everything he has at the guy. And then Bane just, gives him a left hook.
Yeah.
And he's off the catwalk.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that feeling with this one because she had fought Ben before, and it was kind of an even match.
If anything, she was. I mean, he was injured, yes.
Yes,
but she still had the upper hand in The Force Awakens.
Yes, and again, these unreliable, inconsistent power structures. Because I keep pointing this out when people talk about how Kylo is so much better at fighting. Kylo was raised to be a normal kid.
Yeah.
When he was Ben Solo.
Yeah.
And he got into training with Luke.
Right.
Rey, from day one, was a scavenger fighting for her life using a bow staff.
Yes.
So her training is just on par with Kylo's. I mean, she's been fighting her entire life, living in squalor. Yeah. So she has that street skills.
Yes. Yes.
And I would really like them to it's in the past tense, for them to have utilized that skill set she had more. Again, she can't even climb, on the inside of a Death Star, even though that's what she was doing her entire time. And she has no fighting skills. Even when she was fighting with a lightsaber, she was lunging at him like, it was a fork. She had no idea how to use a weapon, even though she literally was using a weapon her entire life.
And some of those lunging moves, though, tie back to, if you remember Episode 3, where Palpatine is fighting Mace Windu on top, he had that kind of lunge move as a power move.
He had the spin dive lunge move.
He had a spin dive, but he also had a straight up, just kind of that lunge.
Which is the worst lunge ever.
It is. It seems like it leaves you pretty open.
Yes,
not gonna lie.
Hashtag no free lunge.
Yeah, no. Ooh.
Yes, I'll be here all the week.
But I think wondering how much of that was almost an intent to subtly telegraph her connection to Palpatine by fighting style and kind of just that aggressive, kind of Sith lunge fighting style. Because she did not have that kind of, scrappy fight for your life, I'll do whatever I need to eat my green bread and live kind of a thing
Exactly.
that you would think she should have for having been on her own since she was, 12?
Yeah. Oh, no, younger than that.
Younger than that. 7 something, whatever it was.
She was barely able to talk.
She didn't have her own style.
No.
And even as she developed fighting with Kylo Ren on Starkiller Base, that was more of an aggressive Jedi Sith-esque style that she kind of moved into. Mm-hmm. There was no scrappy, I just need to fight to live type thing going on. And again, she never had her own style.
Exactly. And again, for somebody who's been fighting their entire life, to not have a style is ludicrous. But I'll forego that because, again, I don't want to get too wrapped up. But and here's a funny thing.
Yeah.
Since Palpatine, let's talk about the lineage, because apparently everybody's related. This entire thing is just so, and I mean,
you knew JJ was doing that in the first one. The fact that Rian Johnson didn't in the next one was really just almost a backward slap in the face that way, because he didn't want to do that whole everybody is somebody reveal type thing.
I found that odd because, again, that's a very definitive statement to make. That's her entire story arc. So if you're going to wipe that out and have no reveal that she's related to anybody, that changes the entire trajectory of the storyline. So and maybe that's why, maybe there was some words exchanged, because there was a lot of clapping back, if you will, as the kids say, but from JJ to Johnson.
Yeah. Definitely.
And to that point, to literally say, instead of I don't know, no, they're filthy junk traders who dropped you off for drinking money.
I mean, and then to say I didn't really lie about that.
From a certain point of view.
From a Lando Calrissian point of view.
Exactly.
I'm not really hitting on you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little much there.
It is, but to that point, so everybody's related.
Yep.
Yeah, and Finn's related to Lando's related to Horse Lady, and so that being said, you know what that makes Rey now. In the grand scheme of things, because she's the granddaughter of Palpatine.
Yeah.
She is now officially a Disney princess.
Oh.
Yes. So you can expect to see her on Disney on Ice as a Disney princess now.
Disney.
Because she is royalty.
Goodness.
Yes, she's now Rey Skywalker. / Palpatine.
Empress of the Empire.
Exactly. Yes. So she's up there with Snow White and Cinderella and all the other princesses. Disney can't leave it alone.
No, well, there was no question that Disney can't leave it alone.
Yes.
They can never leave it alone.
Exactly. So I'm sure you won't have Rey, in Disney World, putting tiaras on people. That won't happen.
I'm sure it already has somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it just...
The relation, everybody's being related.
Everybody is related. Like, in some ways, I almost wonder if it would have been better if if that was kind of a final tease at the end. Luke's only line in The Force Awakens was, "I won't accept a lightsaber from a Palpatine." And then boom, end.
Yes, exactly.
Some way to kind of force it to play out in that. And again, I think that's just the whole missed opportunity of having the continuity of directorship all the way through.
Well, and again, I think because they didn't know what story they wanted to tell, you're never going to get these aha moments. Mm-hmm. You're literally just getting, okay, here are the scenes we need to have. And they put them like on a bulletin board. Okay, here are all the scenes that we need to recreate to get those member berries fired up. Yep. Now, how do we get to this scene? Well, have them get a protractor. How do we get him here? Ugh. Oh, have him fall down a pit. So it's not a well thought out storyline. It's literally just connecting a whole bunch of small scenes, which is not how movie making's done.
No.
And that's why you have this disjointed, herky jerky movie. But and again, it seems unfortunate that they can't go off of the. Oh, and did I mention? Because I was going to say, it seems unfortunate that you have to be royalty or born into a lineage to actually have Force powers, even though they...
Well, that's the interesting thing. And I think if they had more time or actually had 2 movies that they needed, they would have explored that. Because I think one of that whole, Finn, I never told you, I need to tell you something, is that he's Force sensitive.
No, it is. Actually, I got that off the internet.
Okay.
J.J. Abrams actually said that.
And not only that, if you're listening carefully when Jaya and him are talking in the ship, when he's talking about, I just get a feeling like you just knew, that Force theme is playing in the background.
Well, and it was a little more obvious because I remember him saying, I feel it. And there was a few times... He was
hinting a lot at that sort of stuff.
It was a little heavy-handed with his, I just got a feeling... because especially when he said, "Where's Rey?" She's walking. She's
when he felt that she died at the end.
Yes,
he was so clearly Force sensitive.
Exactly.
And,
and again, why? I mean, are they going to do a Finn series? No. And again, why was that something that you would have to tell her when you feel an impending doom?
How would another Force user not know that already?
They would have connected to each other. And again, to go into the Marvel Universe again, with Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, when you come across somebody, you get that spidey tingling feedback, and you just know. And if Rey can't tell that Finn is Force sensitive, why would that even be relevant? We're about to die now. And now you tell me? What good does that do me?
Yeah.
Again, they were trying to tease it that Finn was going to tell her that he had feelings for her, which would have made more sense because that's something you would do in your last moments. You wouldn't drop a trivial fact like that because it doesn't benefit anybody unless you're going to use the Force, which would have been a great reveal. That would have been an awesome reveal. That would have been interesting. If Finn would have been able to do like a Empire Strikes Back Luke Skywalker jump out of the pit, boom. You have yourself, again, see, I'm script doctor. I'm fixing this whole mess. Maybe we can re-release it like they're doing Cats.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Yes. Okay. So please proceed, sir.
But no, the music, I think, again, I always notice the music through. There were some really, really nice beats, really way. I think, actually, the kind of anthem of the Knights of Ren just wholeheartedly outclassed the Knights of Ren themselves.
Well, again, that's John Williams.
That kind of brass horn anthem that whenever you would see them, it was gorgeous.
Speaking of that, and I remember when we saw this together, I did have an issue with all the horns going for the last 5 minutes of the movie. Because in my mind, when I'm thinking of horns, it's the celebration, the regal pageantry of a scene. And they were blowing those horns for the last 5 minutes before the whole thing was even done. And I didn't get that sense of, a climactic, like a cheer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were able to top the celebratory sounds and feeling of Episode 6.
And I'm trying to think of episode 6.
When you're seeing kind of the montage, like they did this time. You see the montages here of all the ships falling and everybody celebrating and stuff. And on the other one, on the episodes, 6, you'll see kind of that montage of the planets and everything. And they didn't quite capture that.
Well, and again, I defer to you on the soundtrack because you have an ear for that. I'm going to start trying to develop mine. But I will say that the score that always jumps out in my mind is the end of episode 4 during the actual pageantry of the award ceremony.
That was exceptional.
Because to me,
and again, it can't really top that.
Exactly. Because
everything has to compare to that, and then where are you?
And everything is a victory. Like, hey, we won until the next episode, and
exactly.
And it's again because nothing matters, because nobody dies, and nothing you do changes anything.
Yeah. I did love the break in music once Palpatine got his powers and did the Force lightning out on the ships.
That was
epic.
And to me, that was almost on par with the Hodo maneuver.
The Hodo maneuver, yes, completely. That the use of silence in that scene and in this one was phenomenal.
And this is when my audio skills kicked in. Because the overmodulation of that was just so unsettling. And you just hear this like drone crackling noise. And you feel the power of that. And again, power levels aside. Because again, I don't know how you're going to shoot the Force into space.
Emperor went Super Saiyan.
Exactly. No, that's exactly. He might as well started throwing, saying Kamehameha.
Exactly.
And
just start taking out capital ships with lightning balls.
And again, I don't... and again, I'm trying to... I said some good things, but the power levels are all over the place here.
They're inconsistent.
Because remember, he took out an entire fleet in space, but apparently a lightsaber can just nip it in the bud.
No. It's 2 lightsabers you need to beat Force lightning. That's everybody's problem. Everybody always tried to beat it with 1 lightsaber. Well, you need 2 lightsabers to beat Force lightning.
I don't know because what's his name? Samuel Jackson. What's his name? Mace Windu. Yeah. He was fighting it with 1. Okay. And let's talk about how this whole premise of stop hitting yourself fighting is going on. The Palpatine.
Yeah.
Again, and when he's fighting Mace Windu, he's shooting his lightning.
Yep.
Again. I guess that was a lesser lightning. Maybe he had it turned up to 2 instead of 10.
Well, he was in a room, so he couldn't really blow the room out.
Exactly. And again, the whole premise of Mace just holding up the lightsaber and the lightning hitting you back in the face would instinctively make you stop shooting the lightning. You're saying that it's not hurting him; it's only hurting yourself. I have to say it. That's one of the most dumb, weak-minded. Antagonists I've ever seen when you're literally hurting yourself. I cannot here. I'm playing script doctor again.
Yeah.
So let's say, like Yoda once did when he was fighting Dooku.
Yep.
You capture the lightning, almost like Gohan would.
Yes.
You capture it and throw it back.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
That was really interesting. Yes.
But it's almost like they didn't want the Jedi to be aggressive enough to actually strike back. So the moral is you only end up hurting yourself. Mm-hmm. But you don't do that twice. The first time was bad enough. And it
didn't work the first time. Let me do it again more.
That's exactly. He goes, I'm going to pull out my old lightning trick. That worked so well last time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he's shooting himself again in the face. And again, it's not like it kills him instantaneously. It's slowly melting his face off. Call back to Indiana Jones with the melted Nazis.
Yes.
And he's melting his own face off. Here's a thought. Stop it. Because, you're apparently manipulating all these things, creating all this life. You're so clever, and you can't help but twice melting your face off.
You think you would have learned the first time. But then again, what does he do? He sits there and gives away his entire plan to Rey. Not even just like, hey, I want you to do this, and I'm going to do reverse psychology. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you exactly what we need here. I need you to get mad and kill me so I can kind of take over your body. Now, don't fight against that. Just go with it. Give me a bloody break.
That's the worst magician ever. Because he literally... She showed up there to kill him.
Right.
She said, I'm going to
kill you. She was doing exactly what he wanted.
And he says, good, I want you to. Because when you do, my force is going to jump into you, and then I'll be...
And really, what is she going to go, that's a great plan. Here, let me just take you out right now?
Yes. There's a YouTube video, and it's like, what if Senator Palpatine or Sidious was a roommate? Did I send that
Yes,
to you?
you did. I saw that. I saw that.
And it's hilarious because everything
great.
is an effort to try and get people to strike him down. And that just phrase was just so... Because he said it again.
It does.
Strike me down.
He said the same words for 42 years.
And he didn't learn last time either.
He didn't learn the first time.
He doesn't learn. He does not learn.
The first time? The second time? The third time? No, like he...
Yes.
As a villain, he never grows.
The Empire has to be the most incompetent superpower ever because they can't get away from putting guns on stuff.
Seriously.
And they can't get away from melting their own faces off.
And it's like, what is it with blowing up planets?
You're not going to have anybody to rule.
You're not going to have any planets left.
Yes.
You're not going to have anything left.
You invade them and take them over like we do here in the States.
Ooh.
That
veered quickly.
Yes. Hashtag, politics. But yes, I don't understand how you expand an empire by destroying the empire.
Right.
But again, that's logic.
I can't. I can't with that. And it's like, in the end, what does she do? She still killed him and thousands of his followers. So did she or didn't she?
Did she kill him? Well, I'm trying to remember.
Are you going to say he killed himself with his Force lightning?
That's because she's not evil.
And then so she's not evil. So he killed himself and then took out all of his followers with him by bringing his house down once he died.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
that's where I
missed
that one.
That
I appreciate the clarification.
Yes, that entire audience of hooded minions. I have not seen such a horribly rendered audience of minions since Spawn, when he was down in hell and they just had a whole bunch of spawns.
Yes.
That's what I see when I saw literally everybody just hanging around waiting. And again,
that was hideous.
They're just literally waiting for her to show up.
They're not even minions. They're his Sith choir.
Yes, and the whole point was just to start chanting stuff that meant nothing.
Everybody's following along in their script, and
I just wonder what that was like before Rey showed up, because they had no idea when she's showing up. Did they get like a message saying, okay, everybody show up at noon, hopefully Rey will be here by then, maybe she's a few hours late?
I mean, turn to page 42 in your Sith hymnal. We're going to start the Emperor's chant.
Exactly.
Wait for the Emperor's cue.
Exactly.
Proceed. Come on.
Because the whole not a process, what do you call it, ceremony will not be a success unless you have... They could have just pressed play on they could have got DJ. They didn't need a choir.
No.
But
that was...
Yeah, and again...
And then the whole, I'm all the Sith and I'm all the Jedi.
I'm telling you, that was Marvel. That was Endgame.
It totally was. I'm somewhat... Actually, that's probably the only real moment of realization and disappointment simultaneously was hearing Ahsoka's voice in I'm All the Jedi.
Yes.
And realizing that likely means that she died somewhere between Renegades and this movie.
Yes.
Which is really disappointing because I would love to have seen like her actually live action and that arc that they took with her.
I did hear
so
that.
Seeing her or thinking that she's dead because of that is disappointing. But it's like, look, the whole thing is set up that if one of you wins, another one of your opposite is going to rise to counter you.
Yes.
So it's like, how can anyone really win if you're both not dead?
It's Joker and Batman.
Yes.
Now let me also say this. And to throw some sprinkle a little positivity on this poo sandwich. I did.
Which really, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's so assembly line driven and profit driven and psychologically manipulative. It frustrates me because
it could have been so much more.
So much more. One of the things I did appreciate was the design of the Emperor.
Okay.
I guess he survived the Death Star being blown up. Apparently, because again, nothing matters. So that's another nothing matters.
Yeah.
Is he didn't die, or maybe they were trying to say he was a clone, but that wouldn't make sense because his fingers were all burned off.
And he's talked to, even back in the original trilogy, the new 1 through 3.
Yes.
Where, some have, even said that some of the powers could be unnatural. He's clearly unnaturally alive.
Yes, exactly. Oh, no. But I did like the design where he had the opaque eyes.
Yep.
And, you could tell he was like on his last leg, and he was being supported by that long arm that was basically craning him around.
I mean, personally, I think Darth Vader's suit had more mobility, but The Emperor does as the Emperor does.
Exactly. You know, he couldn't have bought some new legs. Magic legs. You know, no, he basically said...
I mean, he was the one who put Vader back together. You're telling me he couldn't make his own cyber suit?
He's like, nah, you know what? I'm tired of walking. Just hook me up to a crane.
Yeah. Just a crane. I need to be around my choir.
That exactly is it. What would you like, Darth Sidious? I want a crane and a choir, and I'm good.
Give me some lightning on a clouded planet, and let's build some ships.
Oh, and don't forget my jar full of Snokes.
Jar of Snokes.
A jar of Snokes. And again, I love that you would clone something old.
Yeah.
On its last legs.
Or, I don't know if it's old or if it was just... I mean, there's no question that Snoke kept with the aesthetic of the dark side.
Or maybe their cloning process is just really, really bad, and that was as good as they could get. You know, like Alien.
Yes.
Like that was
all the Ripleys.
All the Ripleys.
Yeah.
Yes. That was like the lesser version of Snoke after all the cloning.
Just look, this one just like walks, talks, and can do what I want. It's good enough.
Exactly.
You know,
but
take the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing him fight or anything like that. He did have force. Oh, and also let me go back to apparently Sidious can, and again, unestablished powers that are conveniently placed.
Yep.
So he's expecting Rey to strike him down for whatever silly reason.
Sure.
But then Kylo Ren shows up, Ben Solo now.
Yeah.
Because now he's on the good side, and he goes, "Ooh, a dyad. When has that been established that a dyad's anything?"
Nowhere. Nowhere.
And he goes, "Now that you're both here, I'm going to suck the life out of both of you. You could have just sucked it out of Rey. What, you need both of them to suck the power? That makes no sense."
I mean, with their powers combined.
Yeah, but he could have at least got a half-life. You know? Yeah. I mean, do you need both lives? He was trying to kill him there's some holes there.
Yeah. There are some... the whole dyad, triad, one is everybody type stuff. Like, they didn't have that all worked out. You normally have one of those things in a particular, not all of them at once.
Exactly.
You've got the Emperor, who's all the Sith, and Rey, who's all the Jedi, but then you have Rey and Ben, who are the dyad, and then you have Rey, Finn, and Poe, who you could argue are a triad. It's like too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah, and again, so am I to understand that because all the Jedi were essentially dead, they all live in Rey? Is it like a concentration thing? Like if you have orange juice and all the water evaporates, you just get like this real
She has all the midichlorians.
But again, yeah, I mean, apparently, yeah, she's just, her, she went to the doctor and she's chock full of metachlorians.
Nobody else is using them because they're all dead, so she might as well, I guess.
Yeah, but I did actually hear that theory, is that if the Force is all over and it combines us and binds the universe together, but if there's less receivers, then it would...
What is this, Jet Li's the one?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Oh my god.
Exactly.
That's
exactly what
I mean,
it
that
is.
puts a different spin on Star Wars, the Highlander games. But
it's Highlander. That's exactly what it is. Yes, that's exactly what it is. You get more powerful the less you are. It's basically Hancock.
Yeah.
It's Hancock.
Yeah, there you go.
When you come together, you're weak. When you're separate,
we've figured it out. We know where JJ was going now.
Yes. Oh, JJ, he's brilliant. he made a whole universe within inside a universe. I didn't give him enough credit. But yeah. So and again, but that's the one thing is the power levels were all over the place.
Yep.
Because they're literally doing matrix jumping in one scene, and then she's struggling to step up.
Yep.
Literally 2 steps. Because
and then she's force healing him after she's exhausted. And not only force healing the wound she gave him, but force healing his scar that she inflicted previously as well.
But apparently, it's like a wipe. It wipes the slate clean because nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters. Yeah, I mean, you got a scar from your life, but
no, that's done.
Yeah, I'll take care of that too. I'm just giving my life force away to heal your, for some plastic surgery.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
Yeah, and again, so just to be clear. With this Titanic Romeo-Juliet ending, where
you know how well love worked out for Anakin.
And that's why the Jedi aren't supposed to be in love.
Bingo.
Yeah, and maybe it's because it makes them stupid.
And what is that? A thank you kiss? That's not exactly how that works.
And again, I don't. And again, in this Me Too moment, I think I'd like more people to ask if they can start throwing kisses around. Because there's, and again, it seems
like Poe and Zori at the end.
Yes.
That kind of, hey, you made it. Her. Hey, maybe? Yeah. No. Okay, fine. Oh. That was...
And to that...
That was as woke as Star Wars gets.
But to that, they needed to make it very, very clear that Poe was heterosexual.
Well, because you can't have any ambiguity, because,
But wasn't it... And again, I'm putting on my sarcastic hat here.
Yeah.
Wasn't it so groundbreaking and brave of JJ to have the first lesbian kiss in a Star Wars film that took place all of 2 seconds and meant nothing.
Nothing.
He is rallying the support of the LGBTQ community, and he's standing with them because he's making them somebody now. In a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I just...
It is... Again, okay, let's move beyond that.
Yeah.
And last part of that, though, so Ben, who has never force healed anybody.
No.
Just starts...
Which, theoretically, I don't know that the dark side has a force healing power as it's canon. As I understand the way it works. But then again, Rey has lightning, so maybe it doesn't matter anymore.
Nothing matters.
Maybe it doesn't matter anymore.
Nothing matters. It's
Hashtag nothing matters anymore.
It's a whole bunch of stuff that happened. But hey, here's some more stuff. Before you start to think about that, here's more stuff.
Right.
Remember this?
Yep.
Yeah, but what about, remember this?
Well, he felt it once, so now he can do it. He's that good.
That's literally it. He goes, oh, that's a new trick.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Let me try. Oh, man, I gave you everything.
Yes.
Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, he doesn't have a governor on his healing ability.
Nope.
But here's the thing. Now she's alive.
Yep.
Couldn't she bring him back?
And
they just go back and forth?
That would be a hilarious clip.
Like that just
where it's a 4-minute skit where they just keep force healing each other and dying.
Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm alive.
I gave you too much. Dial it down to 60.
Exactly.
Oh, go back. And
that's literally it.
Oh, my goodness.
They're swapping lives. And, who knows? Maybe that's how they get down. I'm not saying, I'm not judging. At least that'd be consensual. But
is it really if one person's dead all the time?
Right? That is right. He was a little handsy with her corpse.
I mean, I appreciate he kind of limped over there, so you could kind of go, all right, fine, you know.
That reminds me, there was a scene, that was a direct, not a rip-off, but
right.
it was definitely a scene that was done before. And I'm trying to remember, because I remember seeing that scene where you're cradling somebody's
yep.
head in your lap.
Oh, sure. It's been done so many ways.
Yeah, but it was in the Star Wars, so it was definitely a callback to something. It's not.
Was that Luke and Vader at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Vader couldn't move anymore. Yep. And yes, yeah, exactly. There you go.
And in this case, it's the grandson of Vader mm-hmm. saving the daughter of Palpatine.
Exactly. So again, it's not like because apparently cradling somebody in your lap.
It helps with force healing. Air quotes.
Yeah, don't clear the airway or anything like that. Just put your hand on their spleen and then just
right.
Breathe real slow.
The spleen is the path to life.
So there was that wonderful thing.
Yeah.
What else?
Think the last. I mean, there's so much more. I feel like we could keep going, but burying the lightsabers on Tatooine, taking Skywalker name. The first thing that bugged the absolute hell out of me both times.
Yes.
Where are there cicadas on Tatooine?
There were cicadas? I didn't see that.
Maybe I misheard the sound effect.
Oh, yeah,
but
you're going audio. Okay.
I'm going audio there.
Interesting.
Is that the first thing you hear is that, at least, again, to me, that clicking cicada sound. And it's like, what bloody tree?
I gotta listen to it.
Give me, that just wrecked it.
Yeah. No, there's no plant life on that desert.
No.
Yeah. Now, unless there's some lizards that sound like cicadas, but
make an animal snort or a wind gust or sand hit something, but please, what bugs exist on Tatooine?
And again, nothing matters because the old it's not Skywalker, but what farm was that Luke was living on?
Oh,
and Uncle Owen and Peru's. Well, okay, so they're on that farm. Well, first of all, and at first I was upset about it, but I'll let it go because she could have heard about Luke Skywalker's farm. Or maybe Force Ghost Luke told her where he grew up.
Or Leia, Force Ghost Leia.
Yeah, somebody said, hey, why don't you go to this planet and bury the lightsabers there because that's where Luke grew up, and that means something to nobody. But go ahead and do that. And Leia, who never had even been to that planet, bury her lightsaber there too.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It means nothing to anybody. And again, why are you burying it? I don't know. Just do it because things. But at the end of the day, her basically saying, I'm a Skywalker now based on nothing.
So that was how I felt originally.
Yes.
And I did read some things online and hear some things that actually made me kind of reconsider that. Because originally, I felt exactly the same way. I was like, what the hell connection do you have to that? If anything, your boyfriend just gave his life for you. You're not Rey Solo?
That would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Yes.
So what I heard that actually, I might be okay with was that she, at least from when she started this whole journey, she's obviously not going to take Palpatine's name.
Right.
You're never going to go.
That would, and not to be dark,
hey,
but that would have
wink,
been.
Wink, Palpatine.
Well, that would, and again, in that universe where Palpatine was just committing mass genocide.
Forget it.
That's fair. And let's be frank, this whole thing is basically a trope. I mean, a Hitler reference anyway, World War II. Right. So that would have been kin.
And they're saying her father was Palpatine's son.
Who was he?
Nobody.
Okay.
A guy who sold his daughter for drinking money.
Yeah, but...
No, I
yes. But
yes.
That again...
Well, the thing I love is we're going to start working backwards.
Yes.
When was Palpatine shacking up with who? And at what stage of his...
Well, I will...
This might have been right around Supreme Chancellor time, so anything's possible.
He's getting it on. Because he's in the government, and they're all freaks.
But,
so
look,
yes.
That
either
aside,
that, or he did some of his voodoo, insemination.
Force impregnation?
Exactly.
There's a force power I don't want to talk about.
Well, isn't that how Anakin got born?
Yes and no. Yes, in that he was essentially Jesus born.
Yes.
But I don't think there was another Force user who implanted a Force baby in his mother.
Really? So
my limited, very limited, and I didn't really want to think about it too much, to be honest, either.
Gotcha.
Limited understanding there was that he was just a spontaneous birth of Force power.
He's the one.
He's the one.
Hence all the Matrix jumping.
Right. Yes. And Rey and Ben are the two, because the one wasn't enough.
Yeah.
The two who bring balance to the Force, apparently.
Yes.
Anyway.
So
that was a thing. And again, this was, Lucas was still at the helm. You were still there. This was still the whole midi-chlorian thing where they're actually doing microscope work on the kid.
Right.
I mean, this was taken to a whole different level of Force and stuff understanding.
And
so retcon and adjust that how you will, but I do not believe there was ever an indication that Anakin was implanted by somebody else. It was a spontaneous type thing.
And again, I can accept almost anything in this universe. I will say this, and I do need to remember, because a lot of people are disappointed, but I need to put it out there that Episode 4, which again, it's a cornerstone of my childhood. I loved that film because it was, a part of my earliest memories. And those are the things that you can remember and you feel safe and you feel good because you understand it.
Right.
And it's a part of your memories. But if you step back and look at it, the film itself was a B-list sci-fi film with really good editing and an amazing score.
Yes.
It was a ripoff of a whole bunch of Japanese journey tropes.
Yep.
And I remember seeing, on YouTube, you can look at the original cut of Star Wars. And
Luke Starkiller?
It looks like trash.
Yeah.
It looks like something you would not even want to see back in the 70s of sci-fi, science fiction. And George Lucas's wife, that he didn't divorce, went in there and made a masterpiece.
Yes.
And Williams gave it a pulse.
And
that's the only thing that even got you to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because based on his own merit, what Lucas did, he's the luckiest. Again, just so we all know how fair the world is, he sold the Star Wars franchise for $40 billion? $4 billion.
Yes.
With a B.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, and that's after he started doing trade embargoes and Senate hearings in science fiction.
Yes.
Because he was trying to go all Star Trek-y.
Disney knew what he had.
Oh, yeah. And again, Disney, and I will say this, Disney does not love those characters. Disney loves the response those characters bring.
Yeah.
So they don't have an emotional investment in making these characters epic.
Right.
It's more along the lines of, hey, how can we press these buttons that we know work and get that money, get that sweet, sweet money.
Yep.
They
they almost want to make it more mainstream and more accessible to even people who aren't sci-fi fans.
Absolutely.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No. In business, if you're first of all, it's not a movie company; it's a retail delivery system.
Yeah.
How can we sell all these?
Well, it's not
toys?
the movie; it's everything around it.
Exactly. So the movie's almost
it's Star Wars land. It's all the merchandise, the toys, the rights, the licensing.
Nobody wants to go to Last Jedi Land.
Nope.
They want to go, unless you're talking about porks. They basically were trying to set up a delivery system.
Yeah.
And with that, create just some sort of a merchandising line.
Right.
That they could have, and they did it.
Yeah.
And again, and I said this to you as soon as the movie ended. We're done. Finally, it's over. This entire journey does not end in a bang.
Yeah.
It limps over the finish line, but it made it. So we're fine. Good for you.
Yep.
I've dedicated 40 years.
It needed to end.
It needed to end, 20 years ago. But it could have just ended with Jedi. Because again, what has anything changed?
No.
Because
really, no.
nothing matters. Exactly.
Nope.
So we killed the Emperor again.
Again.
We killed him again until he comes back next time.
Well, Force Ghost Palpatine.
Yeah, I wonder if he shoots
terrorizing the galaxy.
I wonder if he shoots himself in the face with lightning.
Hey,
I mean, again, how can you die and then die the exact same way? The exact same way.
You've got to be a special brand of.
And again, obviously, if I had force powers, I'd be levitating everywhere and snapping necks.
Yeah.
But no, apparently his go-to is the reflective lightning.
Yeah.
The lightning that you can repel with a lightsaber.
I mean, he's always had the ego about his power.
True.
There's never anything that he didn't feel more power couldn't solve.
So yeah, he basically everything's dialed up to 11.
He's the most consistent of everybody.
Yeah. But yes, because he says the same word.
He says the same words. He does the same things. He goes takes it to the next level.
Good.
Yes.
I feel the anger welling within you.
Yes.
Now strike me down.
Yep.
And your journey to the dark side will be. Let's just shut up. Let him strike you down. It's almost like you don't want to get struck down. It's like one of those guys that's in a bar fight and says, "Let me go.
Yeah.
Let me go. Don't let me go." It's
yeah.
Again, but let's wrap.
But
up
anyway,
because,
so the reason I'm okay with Rey Skywalker.
Yes.
She, from when she was kind of picked up on Jakku and everything kind of started, the only masters/family she's really known has been Luke, where she spent The Last Jedi, and Leia, where we saw she was clearly training as a Jedi under Leia. So her only two masters, her only place she's had connections, besides kind of the mythology of everybody knows Skywalker, kind of a thing.
Yes.
Now she's spent the most time with them. She's been guided the most by the two of them.
True. I can see that.
It's the creepy incestual thing of just Luke and Leia showing up together at the end. Brother, sister, fine, but that's still a little awkward.
Yeah, those are my parents.
Those are my parents, not my parents. Oh, wait a second.
Yes.
Yeah, skipping that for a second. Seeing them as kind of the essentially the most guiding forces in her life. She completed the work that they did. She beat the empire that they fought against all their lives. She finished her training with her two Jedi masters, or quote-unquote kind of thing, both Skywalkers.
Right.
So, quite frankly, what other name would she take?
And she's carrying on the name in a good light.
And she's carrying on the name in the light, in the yes.
No, thank you.
I didn't see it at the time. I was annoyed and frustrated. And what the hell kind of connection do you have to them?
Or that place.
But no, looking at it that way,
yes,
I can accept that.
And again, I love how places that like that abandoned farm.
Yep.
Nobody just moved in there. There's no squatters or anything like that. She just shows up the blue milk is still on the table. It doesn't matter.
All there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nothing apparently changes after decades and decades.
No.
But no, okay,
sits there.
I will accept that, and it does make more sense that.
Yeah.
I do have issues. See, this being episode 9, the journey that she was taking between 8 and 9.
Right.
And that, I can appreciate that because, yes, she had a off-scene relationship with Leia who was training her.
Yes.
So that actually makes sense. I still don't get the whole embracing Leia at the end of, The Force Awakens because she had almost no association with her. And not to go back, but her whole infatuation with Kylo Ren, again...
was only because of her infatuation with Han Solo.
Probably. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. Kylo was the emo bad boy that we all love.
Yeah.
But he literally destroyed everything that she cared about.
Yep.
So she killed her, her father role model, and then he what else? Oh yeah, he locked her up and threatened to torture and kill her. Mm-hmm. And he decimated planet upon planet, killing billions, trillions of people, just slaughtering them.
Yeah, how many planets did that base kill in one shot? 7?
Exactly. So he has done literally nothing good.
Yeah.
And at the end, she's like, I wanted to hold Ben Solo's hand. Why? You never met Ben Solo.
Nope, you never knew Ben Solo.
What's that relationship founded on?
Yeah.
It sounds like she was trying to marry into a franchise. That's what it sounded like. She basically, I heard about Solo. He was that general.
It's like an early Disney princess.
Yeah.
Pre-Frozen.
Exactly. Heaven forbid she says, you know what, I don't need to hold anybody's hand because I'm my own woman.
Yeah.
All the single ladies.
Yeah.
But that relationship came out of nowhere and made no sense because she had other than seeing him with his shirt off, I don't know what kind of relationship they had.
Nope.
Force bonding. I know that's innuendo for.
Seriously.
But what else do you...
all things aside, as much as we both had in the way of could have done better, wish it was done differently. This was just a steaming pile of blue milk. And I mean, the writing really wasn't that spectacular. There were no... What was the most inspirational thing? When Zori said to Poe, they win by making you think you're alone. That was probably about the best line in the entire film. Yeah. Poe's, inspiration speech was certainly no, Pacific Rim, we're canceling the apocalypse here.
Exactly.
There was really no... The writing was enough to follow along the plot that already knew where it was going.
Yeah.
So that was kind of disappointing to some extent. But really, all of that being taken into account, it's over. And I am, believe it or not, more or less satisfied that, okay.
You know what? I'm satisfied as well. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
And that's what it's almost like having a tooth extracted. You're like, oh, this is, I've been using this tooth forever and I like it, but it's really hurting me. Just get it out. Get it done.
Yep, it's done.
Done. It's done.
And I think it opens the door for so much more that can come along with a patient, thought out, well-scripted, Kevin Feige-esque plan for how they play and build the Star Wars universe.
Or here's an idea. Don't do a universe. Do a single storyline with one character. And I'm hoping they learn the right lessons from Mandalorian.
Right.
Where they basically, it doesn't need to be tied into some sort of a grander scheme. It doesn't need to overthrow. It doesn't have to be universal stakes.
All the Marvel movies without the Avengers crossover.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, everything doesn't need to be some of them are life-ending events because everybody has planet-destroying tech, apparently. But, universe-destroying or galaxy-destroying stakes.
Yep.
I mean, Mando's just trying to get a baby from here to there. That's his whole plan. And he runs into zany characters along the way and does some montages. End of story.
And along the way, it would be great if they could figure out if speeders need to levitate or have wheels.
Exactly. Oh, because of the sand speeders.
It's always a crapshoot as to which one you're going to get.
What was that?
Depends how many credits you can pay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, those were what did they have in the snow speeder?
There's land speeders, snow speeders.
But what do we have in real life?
Snowmobiles.
Snowmobiles, yeah. They were sandmobiles.
Sandmobiles.
That's literally all they were. was a reverse sandmobile.
Yeah.
Going reverse. I was like, really?
Work out the kinks, get some consistency, you know what? Play in small, isolated pockets and start to really patiently
build. Yeah,
build. Yes.
Exactly. You don't, like I said, it's, you create a new character.
Yep.
You don't take the pieces from other characters. And this is so evident in Poe's look.
Yeah.
Poe literally looked like they yanked him out of another movie.
Yep.
Like that new one they're doing with not Daniel Radcliffe, the Spider-Man. Who plays Spider-Man now?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yes. He's in that adventure video game, Uncharted.
Oh, Uncharted, okay.
Yeah, he looked like he was wearing the Uncharted uniform, or like a B-listed Indiana Jones. He looked like he was on an adventure.
He was the Han Solo of the group, to some extent. Not really, but
that's some controversial talk there. He was supposed to be.
He was supposed to be. Thank you. No, that is correct.
Absolutely.
He absolutely was not. He was supposed to be.
Yeah. Hey, let's give him some quirky one-liners, and he's got an eye for the ladies, and he's such a scoundrel.
Yeah. He was a spice runner,
and I'm sorry, is Spice Coke? Is that what we're establishing here?
I think it's Space Coke. Yeah.
Space Coke.
I think so.
What was that? They had it in there's an old animated series where they had like this blue powdered drug, Zyborg. I think it was Zyborg or something like that.
Okay.
Look it up. It's heavy metal. It was an animated movie way back in the 70s or early 80s.
Well, spice always makes me think Dune.
Yes. And it's a chemical.
Yeah.
And it opens your mind. So basically it's Space Coke.
It's Space Coke.
Yeah. So basically you say, you used to run Coke?
Yeah.
He goes, hey, you were a scavenger. I did like that. You were a scavenger.
Look, they got the humor. There was so much. They did a lot better with the humor in this one.
Yes.
Certainly in the humorless Last Jedi.
Well, they were callbacks to.
Yeah.
And again, it was J.J. Abrams. Yep. He's referencing his
when Rey does the lightsaber and Poe does the flashlight.
Was fun.
Okay, I like the subtlety there. Yes. When, everybody looks at C-3PO and then 3PO looks behind him. Like, okay,
that was a good
great beats there.
They did have some good comedic beats.
Yes.
And again, I can. Well, you know what's funny though? When did R2-D2 become so unusable?
When BB-8 was more marketable.
That is sad. And again, that is Toy Story Episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're literally throwing out R2-D2, who still has character and utility. He can fly. He can shoot electronic
He was
bolts.
the only one you could plug the message into from
he's a hard
Pucks.
drive. He's a hard drive with a heart. And BB-8, what did BB-8 do again in this entire episode besides roll on the attack of that? And okay, let me go back to the horses. Why do you need horses in space? Why do you need horses? And I love
clearly that wasn't space.
I love that there's clearly no atmosphere because no matter how high they got, they had perfect air and breathing conditions. And again, so you land. And again, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have all these ships,
Yep.
but you need a ground force to blow out an antenna. Shoot it. You got guns. Shoot the antenna. You don't need to throw grenades in the underbelly of the ship to blow up, the plumbing?
Pretty much, because it didn't blow up the antenna. It just blew up everything around it. And even that was like, that was some pretty luck there.
And again, I'm being, facetious and overly critical, but how about this? How about, the fact that none of the ships needed a navigation beacon to get in there? They just had the address. But apparently the entire fleet...
Well, I mean, it's easy to make stuff in a, lightning-ridden, perpetually nighttime hidden space planet.
But now let me say this. The destroyers needed, apparently, a beacon to get out of their own parking lot. Yeah. They couldn't get out without... And again, I don't know the premise of... Was it like a wormhole? Because a wormhole would have made more sense. But is it literally they just had to fly through a nebulous cloud? Kind of
some
like
sort of, nebulous cloud or...
But that doesn't stop the ship from literally putting its back to the planet and going up. It's called space. You don't need a navigation chart. Go up. That's I don't get the whole... And again, I'm getting a little too animated here. But the fact that, first of all, why do you have one antenna with a navigational beacon? Put it on every ship. You're putting those death killer guns on every ship. which the second you shoot blows up the entire ship. Why were those even out? They weren't blowing up anything.
No, they should be hidden under blast doors.
Were they shooting at something? Because maybe I missed it. Maybe they shot a planet inside their little space parking lot. And
no, they sent one of those ships, which if one of them got out, then clearly they had enough time to get all of the ships up and out, because they sent the one over to Kajimi to blow that up.
Yes, and again, I don't know why. They were just in a bad mood. And don't forget, the entire fleet, as soon as they blew up that whole parking lot of storage, they just flew out. They didn't need any beacon. They just said, all right, let's leave.
Yeah.
But, and again, there's so many holes.
There are.
And there's so many shortcuts
yes.
and coincidences and irrelevant moments.
Yep.
But, again, we're done.
We're done.
It's over. You know, like Kylo Ren said, let it die.
It's exciting to move on. Let the past die.
Yes, it's not you, it's me. I gotta get out of this relationship because it's killing me that they just won't let it go. You know, I mean, and again, Princess Leia was, and you know, no disrespect, you know, she's like, I'm out of this. I gotta get out of here. And poor Lando, he's the last one standing apparently. And he's barely hanging on. But I'll say he does look good for 82.
82, yeah.
Yeah, no, he looks good.
He does. He really does.
And Harrison Ford, I wonder how much they paid him to do that 5-minute monologue. Cause,
I mean, they never would have gotten that if Carrie didn't die.
True.
So how much of it was just, look, please.
Oh,
I know we dropped a door in your leg last time, but we promised not to put you around any doors this time.
You know what? I bet they just said, okay, how many points you want? Because
there had to be just. Look, you come in one day. We don't care what you wear. We don't care what you look like. Just we need to do this.
I don't have to cut my hair, do I?
Nope, you don't even have to shave, Harrison. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no issue that his hair is like 2 shades whiter than it was in his memory.
You gotta love it when people age in your memories.
Yeah, exactly. But again, to go back to Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That was one of the brilliant things, is that it did give you surprises.
Yes.
I was surprised at nothing through this. I enjoyed certain things that I saw, but I was not surprised at any moment because I'd seen it all before. But at least in The Last Jedi, when the whole twist where Luke was never there, and the Luke you're seeing is a younger Luke, and
you didn't really realize it
because nobody said anything. Right. You had to catch up and realize and enjoy and discover. Yeah. There was no discovery in this because it was literally, I'm going to show you everything you already know with different characters, and we're going to say the same lines. So you don't get confused. Yep. And and don't be mad at us, Twitter and Reddit, because
we're just going to spoon feed you what you want. Here you go.
Exactly.
Open up.
What do you want? Oh, you want Chewie to get a medal? Here you go. Here's a medal for Chewie. See, it's all better now because everybody's dead. So now he has a medal that he didn't earn, that nobody gave it to him. Maz Kanata gave it to him, but that's not his medal. He got somebody else's medal. Mm-hmm. Why don't you?
Probably Leia's. She doesn't need it anymore.
Oh, jeez. Does he get the dice too? Yeah. He gets the dice, the medal. Give him a lightsaber while you're at it. Just maybe he'll start up his own collection shop.
I'll have a bowcaster and a Hans blast gun and then a lightsaber on the other hip while he's wearing a medal and.
Exactly. Yeah. And get him some pants too. But no. At the end of the day, we're done. Yep. We can move on. And again, hopefully they will embrace the isolated stories as opposed to trying to make a universe out of characters that you don't care about.
And hopefully that's what they're testing out in Mandalorian.
I believe so. And I don't now. I know Marvel is doing a lot of Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. Disney is doing a lot of Marvel stories on Disney Plus. Falcon and
Winter Soldier,
WandaVision, exactly. Yeah. Those are going to be awesome, and I think they're going to be awesome because we care about those characters, and they don't have to be included in a larger storyline. They can be individuals having their own adventures because that's what a story is. It's an adventure of the characters you're caring about. Yeah, you don't have to shoehorn in other characters into the same adventure, and I think that's where I think Disney was in a trap with Star Wars because all they knew was, okay, here are the characters that people like. Let's just double stack on top of that. Instead of, they could have gone, and again, I don't think that they knew also because Marvel had just invented this whole new, multiple multiple journeys that coalesce into one, where all Star Wars really was, in its core, was three people on a journey.
Yep.
So, Disney didn't know what to do. All they knew was they saw dollar signs, and they didn't love the characters. They didn't have any, real interest in who they were or what they were about. They just said, "Hey, how can we get money to put these people in front of me? Do we need to bring Luke back? Dust him off.
Hey,
let's get Mark
back
out
the money truck up."
Exactly, and even because you could tell the fact that Mark Hamill said he didn't like how his character was portrayed says so the world. And again, I mean, if I was Mark Hamill, I would have been just disconnected from that whole thing, like Harrison Ford was. And Harrison Ford didn't really care. He just didn't want to be in.
He just wanted to make sure he was dead at the end of it.
Which doesn't that say the world?
Doesn't it?
Doesn't that say
doesn't
everything?
It just?
Where he's like, okay, I'll be in this, but just kill me.
Yeah.
Put me out of my misery.
Yeah.
And
they still found a way to bring him back in the end.
Because it doesn't matter. Because even when you're dead, you show up in the next episode. If you're kidnapped, they rescue you. Everything is a circle.
Yep.
It's hey, here's the problem.
It's never ending.
It's never ending. It's the never ending space story. And but again, I would say that I think given the circumstance, and the tools they had, and the fact that they were in this timeline that didn't have to be.
Yeah.
They didn't have to rush this out in the way they did. They did the best they could with, probably a committee and, marketers and everything.
And executives and notes and many cooks in the pot.
And, I think to that point, I had an observation. I think that's why Marvel was able to get its footing without as much interference because, and you can see this when you're comparing it to the DC universe. DC used their big guns right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Yeah. I mean, these are the iconic figures that everybody has an opinion on.
Yep.
Marvel pulled out characters nobody had ever heard of.
Iron Man.
Yes. So they didn't know what to demand.
Yeah.
You're not going to have some executive saying, well, Iron Man, in the comic books, it's an alcoholic. They don't know. But they're going to say, well, Batman fights Superman in this graphic novel. That was really popular. So we need... Yeah. They had... The executives knew too much and had too many opinions on DCU. That's why...
The movieverse.
Exactly.
And I would argue the TV universe did it the same way Marvel did in... Who the hell starts a Green Arrow?
Exactly. Because I'm not a DC head, so I know Green Arrow, but I don't know the story of him. I don't have an opinion. Same with the Flash.
Yep.
Those are, and again, for not to be demeaning, but they're second-tier heroes. Yep. So
Iron Man's never been more than a B-lister until now.
Iron Man was,
in some cases.
When you look at him drawn back in the early days, it looks laughable. It looks like a guy in a knight outfit.
He literally did bolt it together with bolts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And in the comic books, it looked just like a guy in a metal suit. And the fact that he could fly was kind of secondary, but Favreau just started a huge thing. Mm-hmm. But again, because he was starting from a point that nobody cared about.
Right.
He didn't have any interference because people didn't know what to... They didn't have any opinions to give because it was an unpopular product.
Yeah, I mean, you start with 42 odd years of... I mean, now, anyway. For this last one, 40 years of history when you're starting to try and come in and end this. I mean...
Exactly.
Look, there's no way in any world that this could have been... perfectly done for everybody in the way they would have wanted it.
Exactly. The situation was...
that J.J. Abrams was able to navigate everything that he did on the internal Disney side and for the fan service side and everything else, this could have been a heck of a lot worse.
That's the tagline. Not The Last Jedi, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
ultimately, that's why I'm satisfied with it.
Exactly, and again, I would. It did not, it did not crap the bed. It was fine.
Yep.
I saw a lot of things very fast.
Yep.
I didn't care, but it's over. Yep. It's in
5 years and 10 years, giving some time, letting it breathe, going back. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it feels right now.
Exactly,
in any way, shape, or form.
And again, it's not, and that's the thing. It's not bad. I don't want to, even though with all my nitpicking and stuff like that, I don't want to say it was a bad movie.
No.
It didn't make me feel anything. And because it's coming in the wake of one of the most socially iconic films ever,
yes,
the whole mythos of Star Wars, that's in our DNA as a country. So you can't show up and say, hey, it's kind of like Star Wars. There's some references.
Yeah.
Aren't you happy now? You're not going to win that.
And maybe that's it. I mean, when I saw Endgame, and there are emotional moments in there where I absolutely teared up. No question.
Because you have an emotion.
That never happened in any of these Star Wars.
Well, even when there was a shock when Solo died. There was a shock.
Yeah.
But Harrison Ford was checked out of that so much. And again, you didn't really care. And it was so fast.
It did not have the emotional impact that it should have for as significant as a cinematic experience as Star Wars has been.
Exactly. I did. And I think one of the problems with the whole Kylo and his... Because right out of the gate, he takes his helmet off.
Yep.
And he's moody and he doesn't know. And it's already been established that he has conflict.
Yeah.
So everything is leading up to his turn.
Yep.
There's no surprise there. When you see Vader turn on the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, you are like, yes, and you're cheering.
Yeah.
And I was a little excited. I did like a little when in this last installment how Kylo was running to her aid, even though it made no logical sense.
Right.
The thought of him running to save Rey and fighting odds, it made me feel good.
Everybody loves a redemption arc.
Exactly. But again, he is a war criminal. So just so we're all clear on that.
I mean, a redemption with a grain of salt. Because there's not, I don't know how much you can really redeem that.
Yeah. So, I do like that he died, but the way he died was garbage.
Yeah.
It would have been better if he died like Anakin Skywalker died, saving her, but not the whole bringing her back to life, and then she brings... Wow. You know what? Yeah. That almost makes me think of Hawkeye and Black Widow on Vormir, where they were sacrificing themselves.
Yes. No, I want to die. No, I want to die. No, I'm going to die for you. Yes. No, I'm going to die for you.
Somebody die.
Somebody, please.
Get it over with.
Fall off the cliff.
Yes, and that again, script doctor.
Yeah.
All you had to do was have her on her last legs as Palpatine is destroying her, and have him show up and take the brunt of it, or strike him and there's a big explosion and he's dying. Done. That's your emotional beat.
You want an emotional beat? Have him kill the Emperor, become the Emperor of the Sith, and then
himself.
Have her have to kill them.
Yes, or
have him kill himself or something like that.
Or have her kill herself.
Oof.
Yeah, no, because again, Ben had already turned because because he had a dream, a memory. Because he got stabbed and that shook him out of his, his darkness,
his emo face.
Yes, it hurt real bad.
Yep.
And again, that's the same spot that he got shot from Wookiee from Chewie.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that didn't shake him out of his anger, his emo rage, but it is what it is, and it's.
Yeah.
But that would have actually been interesting. Is kind of like to go really back in time with The Exorcist.
Okay.
If Rey struck down Snoke, the evil came inside her, and then she killed herself to nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
End it, because somebody needs to end it. And then Kylo shows up.
Yeah. And
cradles him in her arms. And doesn't do the force healing, just lets it go. Because I think this whole series has been a series of force healings. Let me bring it back.
But then at the same time, then you're left with him, and it's like, he is still the war criminal.
Yeah.
He is still the supreme leader.
That is true. Then
you can't really leave him.
Then let him die in a dignified way. Not by... Again, apparently these Jedi don't know their power levels. Because either burning their faces off, or the Sith, they burn their faces off. They give up all their power, but it just a little bit of it would have done.
A little bit of worked.
Yeah, and again, the fact that you can stop a laser blast in midair, but you can barely handle 6 guys that have no force abilities and they're swinging clubs.
Yeah.
Again, power levels were, and let me sum it up because I'm going to try and in a constructive way formulate my overall thoughts.
Yeah.
And unless, did you have any other?
No, that I think covers it.
We covered most of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll come back and we'll do like another one when you have more of the crew on the podcast. But in my mind, again, this episode, it definitely did what it was supposed to do. But I think what it was supposed to do was not worth much. I think the strategy of Disney was to say, listen, we have this trilogy. We have people that like it, people that don't like it, don't much care, but we need to make it across the finish line so we can move on with our next money-making endeavor.
Hashtag just don't crap the bed.
Exactly. Hashtag,
yep,
just finish.
Yep.
That's literally all they were trying to do. So it didn't really matter. And again, I think that's the feeling I got.
And I think that's why I wasn't let down by it, because it didn't need to for me. There was no way it was going to be able to either retcon everything that happened, do service to everything that happened, or some amalgamation of both that would be perfect.
And I don't think that pretty much anybody expected it to blow their socks off.
Yeah.
So I think with the lowered expectations, people were like, but even that's sad, because even with lowered expectations, people were still venomous. And again, I had lowered expectations, and I think it did what it was supposed to do, but I think that the overall way they shoehorned in all these scenes with no real forethought was a shame, because they have writers, they have professionals that do this for a living, and the whole coincidental MacGuffin tropes, it could have been so much more, even though they were limited on time, because for some reason they had to get it out, this the next year.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, they had to take a gamble on how long they could let everything that The Last Jedi did simmer.
But that would have been a redemption. But they rushed it, and it felt rushed.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, because I think it could have been. They had some ideas, some interesting ideas, but it definitely looks like they took two movies and shoved it in together and turned the speed up to 120%.
It's what JJ would have done for 8, and he did do for 9.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because of that, you didn't get any growth.
Yeah.
Because you're literally, it's almost like you have to ignore the whole episode 8 and then just jump, which not...
A lot of it that I think they did ignore.
Yeah. And
at least the parts they didn't retcon.
It might have been slightly better if there was more of a time jump. I mean, sure, they showed Rey training with Leia and calling her master. And
there had to have been some of a time jump, because they only had the Millennium Falcon at the end of it. So they had a Corellian cruiser or whatever that was sitting inside the mountain, which, don't ask me how you carve a mountain out of that. And all the other X-Wings and stuff that I guess they bought from the same, dark web traders that made the Imperial ships or whatever it was that they did. So they clearly had enough time to find money, raise money, regroup, get ships, do stuff. Like there was an amount of time there.
It also seemed like there was a legend of, what was that planet where because they made reference to it, like, Poe said when we were at the fall of Crete.
Crete.
Yeah. Nobody came.
Right.
And again, first of all, you were on the run, and then you just landed there, and they were right on your tail, so nobody was coming, because, you didn't give enough time for anybody. At least...
In some ways, it wasn't even about hope. You didn't give them enough time to get there, and you're running scared, and your ships are done, and you're saying, no, hey, actually, everybody come save us. Yeah, they get it, but almost the guilt that I imagine that everybody felt from not being able to do that, choosing not to, meant, hey, look, we're not running. We're taking the fight to the Emperor. We know where we're going. We know where the Final Order ships are. We know how we're going to take out this. We need your help to come do this. This is our time to stand. There is no other time. You didn't come before. You need to come now.
Which would have been an epic 5-sentence dialogue that you could have put out there, and you would have had your Independence Day moment.
And honestly, that would have come from Lando.
If he could muster.
You want to talk about the most heroic moment that there could have been for him, and
Yeah.
just elevating his stature in that universe to the nth level.
Other than Space Pimp.
Other than yeah.
Yes. No,
Like that would have been that would have been a
Yes.
Apocalypse is canceled moment.
Exactly. It could have been, Apocalypse is canceled,
Yes.
Independence Day,
Yep.
I've been fighting the Empire for 40 years.
Yep.
And I've never been abandoned by my friends. We need to rally and save Colt 45. And then,
This is it. There is no other opportunity.
Exactly. So...
Join us or die or something,
And I'm sure all that happened off screen.
Of course it did.
Because we needed to see Finn ride a horse.
Ride a horse with his not girlfriend on a spaceship.
Yeah.
Where they couldn't just bank. Because that would have been too easy.
Yeah. Well, and again,
unless, the magnetic horseshoes kept the horses on the ship. Now I'm just getting snarky.
Yeah, no. Again, but there's so much to get snarky about because, again, it makes no sense.
I know.
Because don't forget, you can blow up these Star Destroyers by just shooting it once in the guns. With I think it was a Y-wing or something that took out that one. So they didn't have to jump and run on the top of a ship.
Just a gunshot.
Just shoot at the cannons.
Yep.
Shoot at the cannons. They're the biggest thing on the thing. It's the most unpractical gun I've
And then
ever
I have
seen.
to hotwire the gun that's sitting on the side of the ship to shoot the command deck because there's no other way. We don't have any other ships with lasers that can shoot the command deck for me.
Exactly. And apparently, there's exactly.
Yeah.
Now wait a second. So they and why they have to shoot a that's right, because when you disable the beacon, it's going to reset.
It's going to reset to the one they didn't take out at first because, a target isn't easy to shoot when it's off. Look, plot holes.
Exactly. But again, it's done. It's not
done.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty, it's not perfect, it's done, and contrary to everything I've said the last 2.5 hours, I am satisfied.
And again, I will agree with you on that, is that I'm satisfied with the fact that it's done.
Yep.
And I saw some things, and that I'll leave it at that, because the quality of what I saw is almost moot, because they weren't trying to give me quality. They were trying to get me in the seat and get me out and move it on to the next evolution of story, which is fine. Just we'll see if they've learned from the Marvel Universe and Mandalorian.
I mean, I am excited to see what comes next, as long as it's unconnected.
Exactly. No, you can throw in your Jawa sound effect and
familiarity aside.
Yes.
I don't want another Skywalker story.
No. There doesn't need to be any of them.
No.
I mean, how many people are in this universe? But we keep going back to this, farm boy, a smuggler, and a princess.
Yep.
I mean, and at the end of the day, that's what we ended up with again. And
it's supposed to be a pretty large galaxy.
It's ridiculous. You have the ability to go light speed, and you keep bumping into the same 5 people. But anyway, so at the end of the day, your thoughts are that it's satisfying.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied. And I saw it twice. I would see it again when it inevitably comes out on Disney Plus. Being able to just kind of put it all together and go 1 through 9 and just kind of see how that reads, I think will be disjointed at best. But sort of like the way Marvel was, you don't really have another connected story 42 years long.
Very true.
So there's certainly that aspect of it that it did something.
And you know what? And not to harp on it, but if Disney would have gone this direction where, and again, I think they had an opportunity with Solo and Rogue One.
Yep.
If they're going to do, one-off storylines, they could have done a completely parallel one currently, in the current timeline.
Yeah.
And just interweave it with the overall Skywalker. And, like maybe at the end come in and they all converge into this epic Luke Skywalker closing out. But to be fair, they're getting caught up in years, so they couldn't.
They didn't have the time.
Yeah, and that is.
And as they saw, they ran out of time as it was anyway.
Yeah, Billy D's 82.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill, I think he's like in his 70s.
He's gotta be up there.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford he's running out of time and patience. So, True.
Patience decades ago.
Maybe that's what it was. They had to get them on the screen while they were still physically alive. Exactly. So I will give them that again with what they were trying to achieve and with the resources they had and the time constraints. Something happened. Yeah. And they completed their mission. I'm just not happy with what their mission was, but they did what they set out to do, which was move the ball.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Oh, shut it down. Yeah, shut this down and just get on to something else. Because they didn't move the ball because I literally saw the same.
It was the same movie.
It was the same movie. Times, Yes, just slightly better effects and a less better narrative. But, so, good deal. Well, my friend Logan, we're done.
Until the next one.
And again, this is the end of the year. Yep. So I wish you a happy new year. And we're going to pick this up back in 2020 and see what else they've dusted off and run through the recycle bin. And there's a lot of
get a sense of how the Mandalorian, that last episode runs.
Absolutely.
Where they're going to go and all the good things to come in the future.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing but potential now. Yep. Now that we've shaken this abomination off our shoes.
Limitless potential.
Exactly. Well, again, everybody, thanks for listening to this episode. It has been awesome. Again, Logan, thanks so much for spending time going through this. And, here's to a good 2020. And remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.